Good evening. It is me, your friend, Gabe L. Taib. It is Wednesday, February. Guys, it's February already. February 2nd. Goodness gracious me. Lots of great 1980s action fun tonight. Paul Verhoeven's masterpiece, RoboCop, will be discussed with he's the foremost RoboCop expert named Shanth that I know. Welcome to the show, the great Shanth and Jetty. How you doing tonight, buddy? You are muted. What happened? Can't unmute guests because they chose to
Here it is. No, it's me. I'm the one who did it. I was just gonna say you're making me the foremost expert on too many things.
You're the foremost expert named Shanth that I know.
That's absolutely. Of all the Shanths you know, I am by far the most recent.
Yes, of all the movie guys I know, you're one of them.
Yeah, absolutely right, man.
How you doing tonight, buddy?
Good, man. Hanging in there. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. I'm having so much fun. David Williams and I, and Gary Martin now, the famous inker of Nexus.
You know how I feel. Hell
right.
Yeah.
We're cruising along on Truth, Justice, American Way. He sent me 6 cover concepts tonight. Oh, yeah.
It's not a contest.
No, I'll tell you guys, I'll spill the beans right here. Covers B, C, and D were my favorites.
There you go.
So just imagine in your head really cool things. I just spoiled it. But welcome to everyone. But he's working on some covers, and the first couple pages are fully scripted and written. So we're rolling. It's really, really fun. Would you mind if I showed you the newest trailer that I dropped today, like a rapper? You know, rappers drop albums.
Yeah.
I
would mind if you didn't. Let's do it.
Well, all right, and we'll get to RoboCop, people. Don't worry.
Absolutely.
Let me share this video file. Let's see, YouTube. No, wrong one. I know what I'm doing. I've used a computer before. Videos. Here it is. Okay, here is the video I released today.
There you have it.
Made that on my phone.
Oh my God, that's awesome, man.
Yes. Yeah, the great Phil Diaz showed me that app CapCut.
Yeah.
It's very robust for an iPhone app, and it's free. So
oh my God, man, what you can do with the technology now is ridiculous.
Right. So what did you think? Sizzly? Nice.
I'm excited, man. I'm already pumped for this book. I mean, I cannot wait to see, what you guys do with it. You've got so many, amazing people outside of yourself even. So it's like people have been waiting for your project. And then on top of that, you're bringing in all of this other talent into the project. So I'm pretty excited. It's almost like you guys are Truth, Justice, and the American Way.
I was wondering that. Gary, Dave, and myself, who's who?
That's right.
Truth is the good-looking woman. I suppose I'll have to do that since I'm the prettiest of the three of us. So
there you go.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, I couldn't be more excited. I go to bed thinking about this. I wake up thinking about it. I'm thinking about it in the shower. I'm thinking about it when I'm lifting weights. I came up with the villain name while I was doing seated shoulder or back rows. So I'm always thinking about this. I'm having a ton of fun.
There you be, man.
What is the latest with Nosfero?
Nosfero, guys, people, we are 2 away from 300 backers, and we are excruciatingly close to crossing 20K on that. So I am just, I'm just like, come on, where are my last 2 backers to bring this to 300? But it's going well. And working on the book, I mean, every page I'm doing right now, I'm just blown away by how it's all flowing, man. Thanks to CG, thanks to everybody for their support, man. It's awesome. Right.
Yeah, I've tuned into some of those late night streams where you're painting, and it's just amazing.
You've been on them.
Yeah. I'm gonna throw the link in the chat, but it's already in the description, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So if you want to sign up for Truth, Justice, and American Way, get on the mailing list for that. And if you want to back Nosfero, please check out the description.
Please
all that.
do.
But I want to now do this. Hold on. Share screen. Here it comes. Here it comes.
Boom.
All right. This looks like a French. It says 50% 50% machine, and I don't know what flick is. But let's just get into it. RoboCop. Can I tell me how the first time you saw RoboCop? Because I've got a story about that, but I want to. How did you hear about it? Newspaper, TV, and what did you think when you saw this thing?
Well, first of all, it's half man, half machine, all cop is what that translation is.
Right.
And when I first saw this poster, this is a poster by Alan Reingold, who I had the opportunity to break bread with. He did the Batman Returns poster with the, Catwoman, like all those were oil paintings by Alan. So yeah, that's an oil painting by Alan Reingold. It's incredible what this guy does.
And you knew him from where? Where did you know this?
I was actually, when I was going to college, he taught a winter session class on movie poster artwork. Okay. And so he had us do posters for North by Northwest. And he was the guy who introduced me in my 20s to film noir, Jimmy Cagney, Humphrey Bogart. I saw all those movies because he was recommending it, and he'd known Jimmy Cagney. But he did that poster. And when I saw that in the newspaper, I was like, I have to see that. I have to see that movie.
Right.
And I was a kid, of course, and I didn't understand what was outside of that design. But yeah, that beautiful armor by Rob Bottin is amazing. Love that design.
The design of the robot himself is just fantastic. I didn't know that was a painting all these years. You told me that like a week or two ago because we were talking about RoboCop. And holy cow, I just always thought that was a photo with some airbrushing and stuff going on.
Yeah.
That is. So are you still in contact with the gentleman that painted this? He's still a friend of yours?
I've emailed him. I think the most recent I emailed him was probably about a year or so ago. Every now and again, I have this habit I do, which I am, is a big part of what I do, but it's whether it's my comic shop owner when I was a kid or a teacher who was influential to me or introduced me to something important, I always will send an email over and say, I just wanted to thank you again for, what you've contributed to. I think it's an important thing to do. So yeah, I send him emails all the time, but not once a year or so, I'll send him something.
Yeah. Masterful.
Good dude.
Masterful. And you got to learn from this guy. That's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Taught me more in one class than I got in most other classes. It was crazy.
Yeah. So I'll tell you guys about how I found out about RoboCop in 1987 when I must have been 8 or 9 years old. First, let me look at this. Enrique Cabrera says, did you guys know that Verhoeven actually hated the idea of RoboCop at first and was the only one out of the project that didn't actually care for it?
Yep.
It didn't show in the work.
Yep. I mean, he drove the person, Rob Bottin, who made the suit. He came up with that suit idea, and then he kept trying to change it and made him go through all these variations. And finally, the guy was like, I'm not going to come on set to work if, while the director's there. I hate him so much. So that suit was Rob Bottin's masterpiece. But yeah, it's weird, man.
Yeah. So I told you guys, I didn't, if you've been watching this show, a lot of these movies are new to me because my mom, she was pretty strict religiously about what I was allowed to watch and not watch. I wasn't even allowed to watch He-Man because Skeletor, but I loved this stuff as a kid, even though I didn't go to the movies very much at all. I would always get the newspaper and open that section that's 2, 3, 4 pages, depending how big of a city you live in, of newspaper movie ads. And they were just in black and white. And I would just stare at them for hours and wonder what these movies were about because, that's why I'm a comic artist, because I love stories and creating worlds and all this stuff. And I've always been fascinated by it. Models, dioramas, making up stories, writing stories, playing Warhammer, like tabletop miniatures. And when I played Warhammer, I was more interested in building the cities and the backgrounds and painting the men than actually playing the game. Yeah. So I just love movies, even though I didn't see very many at all growing up. And I saw this in black and white in the San Diego Union Tribune sometime in 1987, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. As a 9-year-old, it's just everything you wanted. He's a robot, but he's a good guy, and he has this gun that comes out of his thigh, and he's just amazing. But I knew not to even ask to go to the movies because it's just something we didn't do. Then my uncle, who's very wealthy, he's passed away since, but he was a lawyer, and he would come to California from Colorado, and he would take everyone to Disneyland, and he would treat us all and do all this stuff. He's my mom's brother. Yeah. And again, I'm in 4th grade, so I'm little, and my mom's pretty strict. And he tells my mom he's going to take the boys out. So me, my older brother, and then my 2 older cousins, he's going to take us all to RoboCop. And when you go with Uncle Dave, you get the popcorn and the soda. You don't have to bring. You're not that guy bringing the can.
Sneaking in all the stuff.
Right. when the lights go down, you hear,
Yeah.
And my mom just told him no. Yeah. Oh, you would have thought my mom told me I was adopted. I cried and cried and cried. I cried. Oh, and I didn't see RoboCop.
Yeah.
I don't think I actually saw the whole thing until like 3 years ago. I forgot to watch it eventually.
Yeah.
Once I became an adult. So I have a very special connection to RoboCop insofar as the design of that robot is just him and the Terminator and the Predator. Like, what in the hell was in the water back then for the design? It's just outstanding.
I think the thing is that it was special effects were an art form that nobody was paying attention to since, gosh, what's his name? That guy who took over Universal Monsters and pushed out all the talented people. Again, another uncreative bureaucrat takes over a field. And so the people who were actually skilled were coming from the outside, and they didn't know what, they didn't know what I prefer Pepsi, but they didn't know what was the what was going on creative or what they should and shouldn't do. So they were bringing in all of these influences from the great artists of the past, and they came out of nowhere. That's what happens in creative fields that get taken over. It's got to come from the outside.
Yeah. And here, I don't know. I feel like so much of the art nowadays, the artists are scared. They're scared to be vulnerable. You know what I mean? The vulnerability of the carefree sense of adventure is just so gone. Yeah. And that's the big thing that's, got me and you making the projects we're making. It's the way Scooby-Doo was ridiculous, but it still was fun and made sense. Or G.I. Joe. I've been watching those lately to help me with writing this comic. David Williams suggested I check it out. I haven't seen G.I. Joe since I was a little kid. I probably 3rd or 4th grade, so it's been like 30-something years. And I watch it, and it doesn't make any sense, but it does. It's charming, actually, in a way. It's so carefree and ridiculous. So, I don't know. That's missing. And this RoboCop design, it's a crazy idea, right? It's a kid's idea. But somehow it was executed masterfully by adults. So, I really appreciate that.
Well, isn't that what there's a couple of things I was thinking about. I've been listening to, and just for nothing, John Snowden. RoboCop was designed by Rob Bottin. Rob Bottin was a special effects artist who did The Howling and then also did The Thing. So he's a brilliant special effects guy.
Yeah. Oh, I know his name is Ed Edmonds. He went to my college in Greeley, Colorado. He has the biggest company in America for Halloween props. So if you go to a haunted house and there's like a zombie that's like pneumatic, he makes them and designs them. And that's one of the first jobs I ever had is working for him in college because he was right by my college. And I would draw monsters for him. And he would do all this wacky stuff. But I knew when they were going to make like Aliens vs. Predator or whatever that was that came out like in 2002 or 3, because he had to give the molds back to Fox. He had those molds in his warehouse there. I think he made them for attractions and different things like that because he had the full capabilities. But so isn't that a connection to the Stan Winston thing there? And
I think so.
Yeah, I think the aliens were Stan Winston. I could have that wrong.
Yeah, they were the aliens and what do you call it? Terminator, of course.
Right. Of course. That's to me.
Predator. Frankly, like Stan Winston was the man, and I have to say this too, is that for me, this is the thing about creativity. I was listening to Jordan Peterson talking on the Joe Rogan podcast, which is why Joe's being, another cancellation attempt.
They won't.
And he was talking about, Jordan was saying that, most people are not creative. Most people are not imaginative. And it's a weird thing to be creative and imaginative. And when you put yourself out there, there's whenever you're coming up with something new, there's a chance you can fail. And failure isn't creativity, unlike, Ken Robinson tried to push a little bit. But it's a very unique thing. And you develop the skill based on how people react. And these people were at the top of their field because they were challenging each other. You know, and I'm just looking at all this stuff. Yes, absolutely. Red Foreman was the villain from that 70s show. And he said, "Can you fly, Bobby?" I still, when I get pissed off every now and again, which has to happen, I go, "Come on, Sal. The Tigers are playing tonight. Never miss a game."
Yeah, he's a great villain in this as
awesome
as the evil balding Clarence Boddicker, right?
That's right. Yep,
that's a good name too for a villain.
That's a good name.
It is.
Yeah,
and that scene where they kill, I want to say Peter Weller, but I'm trying. Oh, Murphy. Yeah. I had his real name, not his. When they kill Murphy, they blow his freaking hand off.
Yes.
And that was so unnecessary, the way they killed him.
That was, I will tell you this, when you get older and you see things like that, you can kind of see some of the silliness of it, but that's total Rob Bottin right there. And I will tell you that though, when I saw that as a kid in the theater, I must have been 10 maybe. Ooh. Or so, maybe even younger. And that sequence was rough. Hail, my brother, Jeremy, Lord Crackhead 33. It's good to see you, boss.
Yo, Lord Crackhead, I'm starting to recognize him. I'm starting to see him all over the place.
Yeah, man. He's the man behind the man behind the man.
That's right. Oh, the Commodore 64 music to the first RoboCop game is awesome. I never played that, but I love the RoboCop arcade game. Yep. I don't know if you ever played it, but I think it was from Taito. I don't know. But they had a little MIDI file of his voice going, drop it.
Yeah, you know, I did love that. I did love hearing that when I came in the arcade. Yeah. You know.
Oh, someone here knows about Rob Bottin's catalog's impressive. Howling RoboCop, Total Recall.
Yep.
We got to go over that Total Recall.
Yeah, we do. That's a great movie.
Legend 7. Wow, Mimic. Oh, this guy is good.
Yeah, he's the man.
Now, do you know this guy? Because you knew the painter of the poster. Do you know Rob Bottin in any way?
I don't know him at all. And actually, he's a recluse. He got so pissed off about the industry that he disappeared. And he doesn't do interviews. And a few people have his phone number, but you won't ever see him on bonus features unless it's archival. And he got so frustrated, like so many. There's another Alan Reingold right below this one for RoboCop 2. They didn't use this poster, but it was another Reingold painting.
Oh, and
wow. He's I mean, look at the rock texture. I had that in my room.
It's ridiculous.
But so many people, when I look at it, so many people from that time period are unbelievably creative. And when we deep dive into these movies, it reminds us of what the bar is. I think that's the biggest problem that people have today, which is, I was just looking at a campaign that launched yesterday that we were talking about on my channel and Tiger Blue. And one of the things about that I was thinking about is that we should be competing we should bring our A games to everything, but we should never take any sequential artwork, movie, animation stuff off the table when we're looking at what we compete with. So when we're creating characters and monsters, we should be looking at Ed 209, RoboCop, Warhammer 40K, whatever it is. We should be like all in creatively because the audience has grown up with that stuff. So everybody knows it. It's part of the language.
Yeah, I mean, I reference it all, and I know you do too. I mean, geez, you're an educator, so you have encyclopedic knowledge. But you mentioned Warhammer, one of my favorite painters, illustrators in the world, the great Paul Bonner. Yeah. If you guys want to see, I was showing this to Dave Williams. We were talking about some stuff for Truth, Justice, American Way. But look at the realism, the light, the shade, the contour, but also look at the cartooning. Like in the mouths and the eyes, all that. Like this is Paul Bonner. He's a British guy. He did a lot of artwork for Warhammer. For those in the audience that might not know. But I can't stand how beautiful his work is. I have his art book though. It's just amazing. But
you showed that to me. I had that piece on my desktop because I was like looking at his creatures and I said, my werewolves, there's some room in there, to really push some of that anatomy more. I know it's beautiful.
Look at that mouth. It's like, I don't know. It's somehow Frank Frazetta and Disney had a baby. You know what I mean? It's both. It's cartooning and it's realism, and it's fantastic. I don't know. Paul Bonner is amazing. So to go back on your point about how artists would reference the old masters and all that, you think a lot of that is gone now? People aren't looking at these talented people from the generations before; they're just on their own thing, or is that what you think's happening?
Well, Peterson. I was listening to a couple of Peterson things. I've been on a kick of his lately, and he was talking about how that there are a lot of nihilistic people out there who, rather than coming out and saying they're nihilistic, they come out and they say, oh, I'm an artist. And that word it's kind of funny. Like, so they don't have any skill, but they can't really go around and say whatever. So they just go places and tear things down. Now, being a creative person, being a skilled person is something that takes discipline like any other physical trait that you have. You have to develop it. And the thing about it is it's a weird thing to want to do, like with any pursuit. And so I just think that what we have to do in many cases with creative people is it's not what they aren't doing, it's what they can't do. And that's the trick. Like, if you're not creative and you get put into a position, you could put as much great artwork around somebody who can't do anything with it. You can show me 100 fights by the best boxers. I can't go in that ring.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's not the same thing.
That's a huge thing. And that gets to our epistemological and technical knowledge.
Yep.
And I think that's where academia does a horrible disservice to our culture, where we tell kids if they have epistemological knowledge, and that's just a fancy way of saying book knowledge.
Yeah.
If you have the book knowledge and you studied it, that means you know it. Bull. You don't know anything. All that reading a book and studying it and passing the test proves is that you can read. That's all that proves, is that you can read the book. Technical knowledge is the knowledge that only comes from doing. So like Shanth said, he could watch Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, Sugar Ray, Floyd Mayweather. He could watch all of their fights, memorize all their fights, understand their technique and why it was done, go into a ring and get his ass knocked out in 30 seconds because he never did it. And there's things you can only know from doing. You can't know them from a master's degree, a doctor's degree, 15 years of study a book. It's not going to do anything, you know? So, and that's a huge problem in our culture, because our culture glorifies the epistemological and it downplays the technical, like the technical doesn't matter. You know, it's like when people are obnoxious and they put MD on their credit card.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Should I put like comic book artist on my credit card?
Well, it's like this, right? When someone says to someone, you know, what's a really good example? When people talk about comics, they talk about running businesses. Whenever we're talking about any of this stuff, the only way you really know how it's going to go is when you do it. So when I have students come in, and let's read this chat too. I'll come back to that.
Oh, okay. Charles Lee says, yeah, I can guarantee you that even in my own personal work, I'm literally looking at things that are from comic books, from Shakespeare, wherever I can get my inspiration from.
Yeah, that's the food, you know. And I always say this when students would come in and they talk and they'd say, well, I want to be an animator. I'd be like, cool, let's see your animation. Now, if you're 18 or 19 years old and you want to be an animator and you've never animated anything with the technology we have, then you don't want to be an animator. I was drawing comics on whatever I could do to make comic books or to paint or to make artwork. If someone said, are you an artist? Yeah. How do you know? I'm making art.
Right.
So I had students and parents would come up to me when they'd come off to schools and they'd say, how do I know if my kid is an artist? And I go, are they making art? If they're talking about art, they're not an artist.
Right.
It's that simple, man. And so when you look at these special effects guys, they were pulling molds of stuff before they knew it was going to be a career.
Yeah.
They were ready to work. They had no idea.
I don't know what the technical name is, but you were an art professor. When you draw a grid on a photo, then you draw a grid on your canvas and match them one-to-one paint. Is there a name for that technique? Or is it just grid, like just a...
Well, it's, I mean, I don't even know what the...
Okay, whether there's a name for it or not, here's how you know I'm an artist. Without that being shown to me, I made that up when I was 13.
Sure.
I wanted to draw a Jim Lee drawing, and I had a sheet of paper like 8 inches. I measured the baseball card with the beast on it from X-Men, and it's like, oh, this is 4 inches. So I'm like, oh, so I could just like do a double ratio in my head. I drew a grid on the paper, then I drew a grid on the card, and I just copied what was in each square. That's how you know someone's an artist, because they do it. You know what I mean? So,
and you know, you look at a character like this, and you start with an aesthetic, right? You start with the Western. You start with the sheriff coming in to clean up the town, which is what this is. It's almost like a futuristic Western, down to the gun spinning. But the uncreative person will look at it and say, so he's going to have a holster, so we're going to make a holster out of metal. And the creative person says it's going to go in his leg because it's a robot. And then someone says, how are we going to do that? We're going to build a leg that's animatronic, and we're going to shoot down the leg when he puts the gun in, and we're going to do it with a cut because the idea is so cool. That's how you make things happen. And creative people solve problems. That's what it is. Every day we're solving a problem that we got to fix.
Right. Yeah, I think in its most basic form, art is just in the non-emotional, is just patterns. That's all art is. And your brain is primed to respond to patterns, and you get endorphins when you recognize a pattern. Your brain rewards you because you noticed that pattern in the bushes was a lion and you got the hell out of there. So you get a reward of some dopamine. So when I make a song and the chords are nice and all that, reward. When I make a drawing and you can understand what it is, reward. And that's what makes people happy on a chemical level to see art. So I think just the skill of art at the most basic level is learning to recreate those patterns. You know what I mean? Learning those chords, learning those harmonies, learning those sort of things. And I do feel like I don't know why it's going away. You know, I wonder why the fundamentals and all that. I guess it's a lowering of standards everywhere. But again, you were teaching, so you would know more than me about this.
Well, sure. I know it goes away for a variety of reasons. The biggest is always bureaucracy. The control of unskilled bureaucracy is a means of having a career and having authority in something that doesn't need your authority to succeed. In fact, your authority with its lack of knowledge makes the field worse. It's a pretty simple thing, but it's unfortunately. And the thing that's interesting to me is I've watched Ethan Van Sciver draw. It's the best example I could use.
Okay.
And while I do definitely think that the pattern thing is important, the weirdest thing about art school is it forces you to explain and justify everything you're doing. And if you look at what I'm doing now that I did with these two art books, the first two art books I funded, was I turned off my brain. And if someone were to ask me what I was doing for the first time in my life, I was like, yes, there's all this stuff I have in the back of my head, but I can't explain to you what I'm doing because I'm so physically in it. Like, it's not about, the technical, it's about being in the zone. And I don't think so many of these people wouldn't know the zone if they fell out of a tree and every branch was a zone. I mean, it was just one of those things.
Well, yeah, you can't get into the zone without that technical knowledge. Like, again, the epistemological, the doctorate, the master's degree, blah, 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 whatever. Without the reps, the actual reps, there's no way to get in the zone because the zone is instinct, right? And instinct is going to come from habit. What Aristotle said, character is built through habit. So if you do something enough, all of a sudden it can become your nature. There's a great book by this tennis coach from the 70s called the Inside Game of Tennis, and it talked about the psychology of sports. And he's talking about when a cat pounces on a mouse, the cat doesn't go, okay, now flex your hips, extend your claws, focus your eyes on the mouse. Okay, I'm going to need to jump this hard. Then I need to stick my claws out. The cat just does it. He doesn't think of it step by step by step because he has the instinct written in his head. And they were applying it, it was a book about tennis, but it was a football coach at USC, Pete Carroll. It was a thing he was reading to his players. Yeah, it was back in the Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart days in the early 2000s. I remember hearing him talk about this. And I think with art, the only way, and with any skill, the only way to get there is repetition. You can, again, have all the degrees you want, but the only way, Shanth, you're getting in that zone is not your master's. It's the lifetime of making that stroke, making that composition, making those color harmonies. You no longer have to think, you just go. And you have the tools to solve the problems as you run into them.
Well, my favorite story I would tell that I love that everybody in the chat, I got to tell you guys, it's great to see you guys. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you being here. And I have to tell you, one of my favorite stories about education I love was there was a college professor who came in to teach in a big lecture hall, and there was a student sitting in the front row center. He started talking, and the student just halfway through what he was saying, the student made a weird face, got up, and left. And so the last day, the student doesn't show up for the rest of the semester. Last day of the semester, the student comes in and sits down to take the final exam. And the professor is kind of like curious to see like what happens. He's like, first of all, what the hell is he doing back? Second of all, we'll see what happens. So the kid takes the final exam and the professor's grading it. And the guy gets almost everything right, but one or two things he gets wrong. So he almost gets 100 on the exam. And the professor calls him in and he said, you were not in my class the entire semester. How were you able to be so successful on this exam? You almost got 100. Why did you get that grade? And he goes, well, I would have gotten 100, but something you said to me on the first day kind of threw me. And so I always would tell that joke because I think that there's something to be said for. I don't think that you could be educated out of your creativity, but I do think that because you have to have the creativity to begin with.
Right.
But I do think that sometimes people in certain fields where you have to kind of think outside of the box or you have to push yourself creatively, I'm not thinking, I'm doing a movie called RoboCop. I'm seeing so many. Yeah, sounds like the movie Summer School. Yeah, with Dean Cameron. And it's one of those things where I look at this and I go, you could say RoboCop to so many people. What are they going to come up with?
Drop it,
and
creep.
Exactly. And this is the one. This is what they came up with. Hard R movie, action. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. This is I want to catch up on the chat, but this is one I've been sitting on for a while. You know nothing, Johnson. I wish more physical props and practical effects would make a comeback in movies. CGI is great when it's great, but there's something more immersive about movies like the 90s, which even use stop motion. What do you think of that? I totally agree. I love the practical effects. I think there's something charming about that compared to the CGI that seems so sterile. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think that that Denzel Washington quote, ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. Yeah. I think that inside the studio system, the goal is to make everything so comfortable for everybody. It's a creative, safe space that people don't have to get inventive because there's no need there. Like you can use the money hose on it, as Robert Rodriguez likes to say. And when you don't have the money hose, like we don't have the money hose in CG, we have to be creative. We have to figure out how to edit our own trailers. We have to figure out how to run our own shows, be our own press, be our own PR. And we have to make choices because we have an economy of time. How many hours do I have in a day? And so, yeah, I do think when you say to somebody, you have the same time limit as a team of people will have for the same thing, they're going to get creative. If I give you $5 and you've got to, make it work for all these different things, you have to make choices. Right. Smart choices.
Yeah. Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yep.
Right. Oh, and here's a dead or alive. You're coming with me, creep.
Love that.
And Adrian Stone is agreeing with us about practical. And he says, just look at the huts in Boba Fett. I don't have Disney Plus. I watched the first Mandalorian. It was a pretty cool show, but I'm not interested in Boba Fett. He was one of my favorite characters, but I haven't heard anything good about the show. Have you seen it, Sean?
No, but the things I've seen are not doing it for me. I saw Mandalorian season 1 and 2, liked them. Then they fired Gina Carano and I was out. So that was me.
Okay. Right. Yeah. The Gina Carano thing left a sour taste in my mouth on Disney Plus. But I will whisper, because I know a lot of people are in the don't give Disney any money. I got to keep going to Disneyland, guys. I love it there. I'm sorry. I know. So
it won't keep me up at night. I promise. Don't
okay. Let's see. Oh, here's something interesting. Charles Lee. By the way, for your information, better trivia for RoboCop fans. The guy who says, I'll buy that for $1 is a homage to Benny Hill because remember, this was back in the 80s and Benny Hill was a big thing. I didn't know that. Did Benny Hill ever say anything that he would buy anything for pence or pounds or whatever they use in England?
And it's sort of funny because, there were all these throwbacks in that movie and all these different interpretations of what things were going to be like, but it's a movie that is timeless because the aesthetic and the things they were throwing into the background pop culture wise all blended perfectly. It's an insane thing, what they did. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
It's just great.
There you go. I mean, just look at these practical effects.
Amazing.
I love it. So RoboCop basically is a story about there's a big corporation that makes robotic police officers and other some just robot walkers and stuff. And it's future Detroit. Detroit is horrible. It's so dangerous. And there's this bad guy, Clarence Boddicker. He's got a gang. And anyway, Officer Murphy's going to arrest him. They end up killing him, basically. And then the corporation that makes robots turns him into RoboCop. And it's what else is there to it? What else is to it, Sean? I know there's I watched it again last week to brush up. What am I missing?
Gosh, RoboCop. It's sort of funny, right? Because this is the artist thing. There's so many artists and writers who have ideas of high-handed politics or things they wanted to do, but at its core, it was this idea of what happens when or who kind of swoops in when a city is in extreme decline, and what's their understanding of how to make a better society. And you take this kind of every man from the suburbs with a family who lays his life down on the line to kind of keep the gears of this dying, over corporate bureaucracy run town, from descending into total chaos. And he pays the ultimate price, but he comes back in many ways, with the exception of one of his directives, as the ideal stripped down, symbol of justice. Right. And that's what's amazing about him.
Oh, that's right. As a robot, he has his 4 rules that he has to follow, the prime
Mhm.
directives or whatever they are.
Yep,
And,
3 that are non-bureaucratic and 1 that is in there that's secret and that's bureaucratic.
right, there's a secret 4th one, and spoiler, the movie's almost 40 years old, right?
Yep.
I think the movie's 35. He can't kill anyone who's on, like, the board of directors for the big evil company that made him and all the other
Mhm.
robots. And, the main villain at the end has someone hostage, and the guy
Yeah.
who's being held hostage gets a really bright idea, and he goes, whatever the guy's name is, "Johnson, you're fired." So now RoboCop realizes, "Oh, I can shoot this guy because he's no longer an employee." So it's got a really funny twist ending. I know I spoiled it. 35 years. Sorry.
Well, it's
So,
and let's serve the public trust, protect the innocent, and uphold the law.
that's right.
Such beautiful, like reducing everything down to this pure understanding. That's what made us love the character. Because
Right.
he was uncomplicated and you could trust him.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he not only did he look cool, but he had I think the ethos you would want if you're boiling a cop down to a robot. Actually, if you were making him very binary in his thinking, that's what you would want from him. I like this comment here. Enrique Cabrera says, RoboCop is a story about what would happen if Antifa and BLM were left to run rampant and the law eventually decided they had enough. A mostly peaceful protest was broken up by RoboCop today.
It's what happens when you essentially tell people, and you're seeing this going on, everywhere. You tell people that they're charged with doing a job, and then you endlessly make it impossible for them to do their job when bureaucrats get involved and don't allow them to do the job, who aren't on the ground. And that's what you see. It's kind of amazing how that works.
Yeah, it is. Here's a good comment, kind of furthering what you're saying. It's the tone of satire mixed with sincere drama and action in RoboCop is perfect. It is such a masterful blend. And if you hadn't seen the movie yet, and someone explained to you, there's this cop, he gets killed by gangsters, and then they rebuild him as like a RoboCop, and then he just kills all the bad guys. It doesn't sound like it has any heart. It sounds like it has a lot of action.
Yeah.
But they pulled it off. They really did. He has humanity in a strange way.
Well, isn't that the thing, right? I mean, that's the thing about the character. It's, the whole idea of, and you see this, it's so funny. I'm seeing, I am, therefore I am in the chat saying Darth is Luke's father too, but it's funny.
Oh, spoiler.
Yeah, exactly. It's, and then what does ED stand for in ED 209? I think that's academia. No, I'm kidding. But it feels like it. I can think of a few things actually.
Oh no.
Yeah. But it's what is it, the car they have, the 6000 SUX,
right?
I mean, there's so much of that stuff, and I think that Peter Weller sells it incredibly well, the humanity in that, when he's having the nightmares, when he's having the flashbacks, right. It's incredible.
Right. Yeah. I don't know, I think it's awesome. I remember my cousins told me about the guy, the fight at that final place. It seems like an ore mine or something, or some sort of refinery. The one guy gets hit with the toxic waste. And you got to understand, in the 80s, toxic waste was like a thing.
It was everything.
Like you could buy a He-Man figure and he came with a little tub of toxic waste, or I don't know, Slimer, the Ghost, Nickelodeon had the green slime, toxic waste. I don't know. It was just in the zeitgeist back then. So of course a guy gets hit with toxic waste. I don't have a photo of it handy. And he gets hit by a car and he just like a zit, just explodes. And my cousins, who got to go see the damn movie, told me about that, and I thought it was the coolest sounding thing. But they told me I would have been scared if I saw it. But I had my doubts.
Yeah.
I saw it as an adult, and I was only a little scared. So,
yeah, and Mega McNut with enforcement droid is what ED stands for. You're absolutely right. Spot on.
Oh my God. Do you remember the Robert Cop that I showed you the other day?
Oh my God, that was glorious. We need the rights to Robert Cop.
That's
what we need.
I got to look that up again to show the chat.
It's rough. You know, and it's one of those movies that, the few glimpses you get to see of his life before, of his wife and all of that stuff, it's incredible. You're seeing the kind of, total disconnect from what's happening in people's lives, on the ground. There you go, guys. Robert Cop 2. This time, hold on. It's personal.
Let's break this down. Look what it says. I'll be back.
I'll be back.
Yeah, this is a dollar store special. I don't know if you guys have been to like a tiendita, like a Mexican little grocery store, but they also have toys and crap. And I see stuff like this when I go to things like that. It's like a bootleg Spider-Man and stuff. It's like Spider-Man, but he has like the bat symbol on him and like Iron Man's head. And so this is Robert Cop 2. I wonder where Robert Cop 1 is.
He didn't make it. He didn't make it. You know, it's tragic. You know, and it's kind of a funny thing, right? Because it's, you know, we're sitting here and we're talking about, you know, this movie all these years later. And why is this character became a property that they didn't know what to do with, because they made a design that was so good kids wanted toys of it, but the movies were completely unacceptable. They did, you know, tried all these different things with it. But it's ultimately to me, what made that story resonate with audiences wasn't so much what the director or the auteur, you know, wanted to make happen. It is parody, but why people were connected to it and remembered it is it was about a very good person who is trying to do the right thing, getting, you know, basically in the opening scene of the movie, annihilated by all these competing interests. They start with the guy in the boardroom, who is this like decent guy's like, I'm going to climb the corporate ladder, which, you know, and then he gets obliterated by a mistake, just a mistake.
Right.
You know, just a whoops. Oh, geez. And he goes, it's a glitch. I love that line. And he's like, you call this a glitch? Like, this guy is shot to pieces.
Right.
And, you know, it's one of those things with RoboCop, right? Where he does everything right, but these people who are being funded, you know, by, you know, what's his name? The Dick Jones, because he wants there to be more crime so he can seize more control.
Yes.
You know, blast him to pieces. And it's like he has to find his way back. You know, he's so good in his core that he's able to find the little bit of humanity he has left to become a full person and regain his identity. And that's the thing that's amazing. They couldn't destroy it, all those forces. And that meant a lot in the 80s.
Yeah.
You know, with the collapse of Detroit and all of it.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. So he had his humanity, then he dies and he's brought back as a robot, but then he has even more humanity as a robot because he goes through all that. It's actually very deep, and it doesn't sound like it when you first hear about it. I do want to go over these
of course
lines on here real quick. I'll be back. So I'll be back. But he also says futuristic Robert. That is such a great selling point.
Oh my God.
It says Terminator, but then in parentheses it says automatic. So it's an automatic Terminator.
There you go. I thought it said antibiotic.
I don't know. This thing makes me so happy. I love this thing.
It's joyous.
And it says exciting movie look, and then it reminds you it's a toy.
Thank God.
So
you know, this is not for law enforcement in reality.
And I will take this off the screen, but I'd buy that for $1.
I'd buy that for $1 indeed.
There you go. Cheesy as hell. Okay, that's it. That's the end of Robert Cop.
There's the end of Robert Cop. Well, I've got something to show actually today. When I saw this movie, I was a huge fan of this movie. And I found out that my late father-in-law passed away in 2009. God rest him, amazing guy. He had the chance to be in RoboCop, but he didn't take it. And I remember when I talked to him, I go, what? He goes, yeah, it was filmed in Dallas, the ER scene where they're trying to save him, and he was an ER doctor. They were, you know, they filmed it there, and they asked me if I wanted to be in. I was like, I don't want to be in this. And I was like, oh my God, man, if you had only been in that would have been amazing. However, as fate would have it, I was obsessed with the actress who played his wife in that. I love the POV shot of him walking towards her, and she's like, I really have to tell you something. I love you. And you see this happy marriage. And I remember saying, one day I'm going to find a nice wife and hopefully I won't get shot up and turned into a cyborg, but you never know.
Right.
And so my mother-in-law she's an artist. She met the woman who played, the actress who I refer to lovingly as Mrs. RoboCop. And she met her and she's an artist too. And she got her to sign this to me. And it says, to Shanth from Miss RoboCop, from Mrs. RoboCop, all the best. So I got one of her convention photos that she does, and she signed it to me. It's Angie. I think it's Angie Bolney or Bowling. I'm not exactly sure what the last name is there, but Anyway, I think that that means we're married. I think so.
Polygamist.
That was great.
Polygamist.
I haven't told Lauren yet.
Yeah. You think Lauren's going to be surprised?
She'll understand. She's like, as long as you stop talking about Mrs. RoboCop all day. God almighty, make it happen. So yeah, my mother-in-law's cool.
I like this comment here from Reynold Rosa.
Yeah.
RoboCop did a good job of predicting the future. Detroit is bankrupt. The police are defunded and hated. And Ford turned the TARS into the police interceptor.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Well,
go ahead. Sorry.
Fantasy and science fiction gives us a chance to, without consequences in so many ways, depending on who the authoritarian, at any creative company is. If you're doing it on your own, you have the chance to talk about things you want to see and do it with impunity. And I think that there was this extreme desire for law and order coming out of the 70s. We talked about the start of it.
Death Wish.
We were talking about Death Wish. This is Death Wish for the 80s, just a little bit later. Huh. He's going, I mean, think about it. Only he's the person who's been sacrificed. He's the noble person who's been sacrificed. And when he's killed, his personal aspect is gone.
Right.
But his nobility, his moral compass is intact. And then he operates out of his moral compass and he gets reconnected with his humanity. He's his basic law enforcement values. It's incredible. Love that movie, man.
I didn't even think of that aspect, that it is sort of like Death Wish, the crime-riddled city. This man suffers the great tragedy in Death Wish and in this, and then he comes back as a force of nature to just annihilate these criminals. That's fantastic. Great insight on that.
But it's like we're talking about comics here. This is Comicsgate for anybody who's the one or two people out there. Spoiler alert. We're two guys who are in Comicsgate.
Uh-oh.
And I know, isn't that crazy? And this is the thing that I think about when I look at this kind of stuff and when I'm telling stories. When people talk about online culture and getting pulled into things and getting pulled into arguments or, whatever drama goes on online when people talk about this stuff, I'll break it down for you like this. At the end of the day, I'm doing the same thing I've been doing since I could hold a pencil. The thing that makes the most sense to me is I go to my board and I draw and I paint, and everything else melts away. That's my lighthouse. That's my core sort of foundation. And Comicsgate, yeah, absolutely. And so it's the same. It's the same thing. Yeah, I know people are losing it out there. Someone's hearing this and they lost their minds.
Oh no.
But it's one of those things to where I mean, when you guys look at any one of our projects, and I'm so excited for my brother Gabe's project coming up. But when you look at Nosfero, I'm sorry, this really hit me last night. There were a lot of amazing Comicsgate things that happened. I'm 2 backers away from 300 backers. I'm close to breaking 20K. This is the thing that it all kind of comes back to when I sit down to do it. It's because I am so dedicated to making the best art I can for the people who back my stuff. And when I get at my desk, which I do most of the day and most of the evening, to draw or paint or whatever, it's those values that give me a deeper access to my humanity. Just like when I was backing Tiger Blue or any of the books I've backed in Comicsgate, it's a way in which I'm able to sort of physically manifest my values, which are free expression, anti-woke. That's what it's about. Do you know what I mean? And if I'm just thinking it, much like everything else, if I'm not living it and promoting books and trying to help other creators, but also championing imagination like RoboCop, like we do here on Double Impact, and like we do when we make imagination happen on the paper, there's no point to any of it. We got to do that stuff to live. And Murphy's thing was, I outside of my family, which, he loses in that movie, he sacrifices. My job is that light for humanity, my discipline for this. And he brings a new awakening and rediscovers his humanity through it. I love that movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I do like the humanity aspect that you're pushing on there with his family, and then the flashbacks with beautiful Mrs. RoboCop and all that. And it is shockingly deep for a movie about a man with a gun that pops out of his thigh,
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of being inspired and doing your best and connecting with your humanity, let me show the trailer real quick for Nosfero. Let's see if we can get it over 300 backers. We've got 298.
Got two more. Oh, wait. Before you show that, there's something you got to show.
Oh.
You got to close that out. I got to show this video because I wanted to give this guy a shout out, if you don't mind.
Okay. Add it to the stream, I guess.
Yeah, let me see if I can do this. It's the Hogan the Bogan YouTube video. I'm going to give you the link in the private chat because it'll probably work better.
Okay.
And it's Shanth and Jetty's Nosfero interpreted by The Dying Days of YouTube. Give him a sub if you guys don't know him. He's a great dude. I'm putting the private chat for you.
All right.
And it's Hogan the Bogan, and he did the funniest. This is better than any trailer I've ever done. You will die laughing. It is insane.
Hold on. Let me get it over here. Where did it go?
Got to give my man a shout out.
Yeah. So this is Hogan the Bogan, you said?
Yeah, The Dying Days of YouTube. Absolutely worth checking out.
Okay, let's make this full screen and make this big and then play it. And let me know in the chat if you can hear it. Sometimes when you play a video over there, there's no sound. So I'm going to play it real quick.
I hear it.
Boy, cunts, how's it hanging? It's your old mate Hogan. Do you remember the days when Black Sabbath helped you get knuckle deep from the backseat of your busted ass shagging wagon parked by the dunes? No? Well, then ask your fucking dad to come look at Nosfero, because they're going to cream their dacks when they see the raw vintage metal of this indie spinner. Nosfero is a watercolored, acid-laced trip into a unique realm of vampiric rituals, demonic hell beasts, vixens, and other legendary myths like beautiful versions. That's what this nerdy cunt who writes my script will call gothic kitsch. That looks like a Dario Argento nightmare directed by Fritz Lang. This artwork now is that hammer shit so bad Peter Cushing would be gushing. You know what I mean? It's like Alfie Munker and Simon Bisley had a baby raised by Joe Pantano. If you tried to count the disparate influences on Nosfero, you'd run out of fingers before you're halfway done. Just like your mum opening up in the backseat of your dad's shagging wagon. You know what? It's a stark contrast to the influences reflected in all mainstream comics right now, namely Marxism and mental illness. Now, this will get along like all your ex-misses on the rag at your kid's birthday party. But look how sweet they come together. Like all your ex-misses after a spliff, a bag of goon, and a little mood lighting. That's right. Koala chicks are dirty feral cunts. Nosfero comes to us from smart artist Shanth and Jetty. And he might look like a 6th grade English teacher who's on the side, but let me tell you, what he puts out to the comics, the dude's name itself, there isn't a fucking thing about this cunt that isn't goddamn metal. And not hairband, pretty boy mascara metal, but bite the head off the back and snort your father's ashes out of a naked groupie's absolute metal. Say what you want about whatever glowy-eyed, chained-up denizen of hell is your favorite. If they don't have a mystical fucking shard of legendary sword jammed through their fucking nose, they can mince the fuck off back to Hot Topic TikTok and weep into their Death Note diaries. Now, I might have got a bit off track and forgot my fucking point, but you can't fault my goddamn conviction. And you don't get much more passionate than our Jetty, whose YouTube channel not only shows him painting his shit, but he also yaks about mythology, writing, and the Western canon. It's compelling stuff, but I must admit I don't know what the fuck he's talking about half the time. The canon was 1977 Holden Tirana A9X. Having Nosfero in your collection is going to be like having Back in Black on vinyl. Every fucking bogan worth his salt is going to have it. So do yourself a favor and back Nosfero on IGG today. For those of you about to back, I salute you. This has been Hogan.
Oh my God.
That was fantastic. Okay, I don't need to play this trailer.
You don't need to play the trailer.
Yeah, this will be underwhelming compared to that. Not that there's anything.
There's no way the trailer lives up.
That was high tea. That was high energy. I loved that. Fantastic. So shout out to that guy. What was his name again?
The Dying Days of YouTube is the channel. Absolutely amazing stuff. He's done videos for so many different, creators. I know he did Dan Plagle's The Goblin Girl. Just a great dude.
Okay. And I put let me see. I put that in the chat, or I put Nosfero in the chat just now if anyone wants to back. And then I put a link to that video we just watched in the chat.
Absolutely. Yeah, subscribe
check
to
him out and subscribe to him. And while you're here, make sure you subscribe to Shanth and myself. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel. You hit the bell for notification, all that. Me and Shanth are here every Wednesday night, almost, talking everything uplifting, action-packed, exciting, adventurous 1980s and 90s. That's our thing here. You know what I mean? So it all started. This is how Shanth fell in love with me. It's not just the dreamy eye. Mm-hmm. It's not just the rock solid shoulders. That's the ability to bench press nearly 350 pounds. It's not that, as great as that is. He saw me on Ethan's show with a Van Damme background, and he was smitten.
That's right.
How did you break it to Lauren? How did you break it to the wife?
I just said I'm leaving you. No.
She said, "Go, you fool."
No. She was like, "I packed you." No, man, it's sort of funny because she's been living the Van Damme stuff, and she's been, watching all these movies with me. So she knows. She understands.
Okay. But in all seriousness, you noticed that I had a Van Damme background.
Yeah, I did.
Who is this guy? Wait a minute.
Yeah, it was exciting because when I look at the stuff, I'll tell you this, I blame RoboCop for why when I look at both Justice and the American Way, I want to like carve in some of that RoboCop detailing on them. Just because whenever I see chrome, I'm always like, or police armor, and you gave me both, but I love those two character designs, and I'm really excited to do some artwork of them at some point,
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I do think that our character Justice from Truth, Justice, American Way, I do think he looks a little like RoboCop now that you mention it. Let me see. Let me open up a piece of art here. If you'll hold on a second, I can show these because they're in the trailer now. I haven't shown these till today, but you guys are going to get a treat. I'll open up Photoshop and just show you some of the concept art that I've been working on, so we can look at Truth, Justice, and American Way, and those are the characters' names. So here's Truth.
Yeah, beautiful.
I painted that one up the other day, and I record myself painting these in Photoshop. And so that way I'll make like time-lapse videos and just do commentary videos on YouTube or something like that. So that's Truth. Then we have our boy Justice here. And these just have a neutral background to help me with value and contrast and all that as I work. And they have no background because I cut them out and use them in the video to like semi-animate them. Really just move them across the video. And then here's the American Way. I love this chromed out look on this.
Gotta love it, man.
Yeah. But I see what you're saying, that he sort of looks, he's got a little bit of RoboCop to him.
Oh, yeah.
I guess he does. He's your badass. Now, is he a cop? Is he former special forces? Is he CIA? Is he military? You'll have to see. I feel like he's the breakout character of this book already. So many people in the comments and different places I posted are like, oh, my God, I love Justice. He looks so cool.
Yep.
So very, very excited about that.
It's a great design.
Yeah. Well, thank Dave Williams. He's brilliant.
Yeah,
I was really honored. He put me to work designing. I'm designing the villains. He's gonna have the ultimate final say, but he wants me to just give him like ideas, So I'm basically drawing static poses at the camera. I put a little contrapposto into it, but he's having me do some stuff. And what are my ideas in that? So I was very honored that a master like him would want me to be contributing to the illustration. So
it's why we do what we do. I mean, it's kind of funny, it's. For me as an artist, I feel like when I'm having these streams with all of you guys and we're having these conversations, it's fuel for the soul, fuel for the creative soul. And I don't know if there's a way to do it, any other way, but it's not that we have to be living in and out of each other's pockets, for heaven's sake. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we do need to know that there are other people doing creative things who aren't talking about any of this nonsense that we're all being drowned in. And it's exciting, to get away from it all and to just get in there and see people. I mean, things got a little political the other night because Phil just, decided to bring in, Sega versus Nintendo into my stream, and when that happens, I'm like, listen, let's not bring this into a stream.
Right. That's like bringing up beef versus pork ribs with me.
Exactly right.
And you stunned me with an answer I'd never heard before.
Yeah.
Just so you guys in the chat know, the only correct answer is beef ribs, not pork ribs. Sorry. But then Shanth blew me away. Something I never saw coming. And this is why we're friends. He said both.
Absolutely right.
Damn it, I can respect that.
Yeah, my cholesterol level certainly backs that up. And I think, it's you see this stuff, and I'm looking at the chat, you've got such great stuff here. Jordan saying, I can't wait to see the finished product. Julie Pascal, hail to you. He's iron or chrome or something. There you go.
American Way. My character, he's American Steel.
There you have it. And my brother-in-law works in that industry, so hail to him. He's out there. How to Draw Comics by Dan Lawless. Man, that's cool, and I will second that. Absolutely agree. Teflon Ron, which should be that character's secret identity, American Way. Teflon Ron. It'll be interesting to see how Truth meets up with these two. Absolutely right. Charles Lee, answer I have to disagree with you on them losing their minds. They would have to have a mind to lose in the first place, don't you think? And I think you're absolutely right. You can't lose something you don't have. And Julie Pascal, yeah.
Let me give you a little bit of flavor here. This is the tone we're going for, okay, in Truth, Justice, American Way. When the world was on the brink of destruction, 3 independent protectors joined forces to save humanity. Since that day, they have answered the call when America and the world need saving. They are the Honor Guardians of America. That's what the group calls themselves within the book. The book is still called Truth, Justice, American Way. But that's the tone we're going for. We're not making fun of it. We're not parroting it. We're revering it, and we're really showing people that we love this stuff. That superheroes are just an original American creation, and something I'm really proud to work in. So I want you guys to feel that adventure and all that. So
absolutely,
this guy's defying me. Now I'm gonna buy a slab of beef short ribs. Oh man, I'm hungry.
I am hungry too. But that's all Comicsgate streams go to food. Like,
right.
No matter what else we're talking about.
We all and the one we always talk about on here is country fried steak and gravy.
Yep. Oh yeah. It's well, you gotta have religion.
Yeah. I drove all the way through the South and I never made it to a Waffle House.
Well, you have to go and get off the beaten path a little bit, and then by then you're probably fleeing.
Yeah. I saw hundreds of them as I drove through, but I just didn't get there. I did try a Whataburger for the first time. I may have told you this. It was terrible.
Well, you cook. That's the problem.
Terrible. Yeah. I don't know. I live in Southern California, and of course, In-N-Out. Everyone's excited about In-N-Out. Yep. And then my friends from back east and all that would tell me Shake Shack is better, and Steak and Shake is better, and Whataburger is better. I've tried Shake Shack. I didn't like it, and I tried Whataburger, and it was Burger King tier. It was not good. It was bad food. So, what is the burger where you live?
The burger where I live,
like the burger joint. What is the main place where you live?
There's not really a main burger joint up here that I go to. When I go out to restaurants every now and again, I'll get a good burger. You know, like what is it? Not Your Average Joe's. You know, and places like that up here, chain places. If I'm going to a chain, but I mean, most of the time when it comes to burgers, it's. I don't know if I've been a lot of places where I've had a great burger I'd write home about that were a part of any chain at this point. And I will eat any burger. Let me be clear. It's not because I'm a snob, but it's like, yeah, Five Guys is good. I'll give you that. Jeremy Burt's, you're right. We do go to Five Guys. That's a great one. Hail, by the way.
I never tried this one, but it sounds good. No name.
Yep.
So no name. Yeah, but so you said Phil brought up Nintendo versus Sega. Mm-hmm. Which were you growing up?
We only had a Nintendo. So
good man.
It was it. That's all we had, you know. And but I don't know if I'm the. I remember people would talk about, the various graphics, and of course, then there were the games that we played at the arcade,
right?
You know, and it's. I know that Phil's deeply connected with that whole world, but for me, it was things like, you know, I would always get annoyed when there was a great arcade game that wouldn't come to Nintendo. Things like Mortal Kombat and things like that. Those were the games that we wanted to play.
Right. Yeah. Oh my God. Back in the days before, guys, you got to understand, in the 80s and the early 90s, before everyone had internet, it was such an innocent, fun time with video games and stuff. I remember there were codes like that. Yeah. The 30-man code in Contra, and then just the different, and you'd hear different secrets and tricks and tips from your friends on the school bus. I think I told you this one before, but when I was in 4th or 5th grade, someone told me there was a code on the Nintendo that if you did it, you would get the Playboy channel.
Everybody there were so many stories. Yeah, like there's what it is now, you know, when you get online, it's kind of like, here's the code you get to not have everywhere take you to the Playboy channel.
Right.
It's the exact opposite. It's completely backwards.
It was the reverse code.
It's completely ridiculous. Yeah, it's nuts.
Were you a big gamer or anything growing up, or?
I played video games. We had the Super Nintendo for a bit. I played that like crazy because they had Star Wars games on it with the actual music from the movies, and I loved those versions of it, and I have fond memories of it. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing I was fanatical about was movies and comics. I mean, I was just all in on comics. That was it for me, you know. Yeah, and but I was never. It's kind of a strange thing, you know. I would play video games and I would enjoy them, but then they would always get me thinking about things I want to draw. If that makes sense, you know.
I'm listening. I'm just grabbing a book. to show
And so
you.
let's see. Let me just go through the chat a little bit
Okay,
here.
go for it.
And I want to catch up with these guys. Here you go. Whoa, gosh, you guys are flying tonight. It's good to see you. So Paul says Five Guys and Wendy's are decent. Guys, I've never said no to a burger. That's a problem, and we're working on it. But, you know, I'll eat Crystal. I'll eat White Castle, all of it. Sega does what Nintendo don't, says no. We love you.
How dare you?
Yeah, John says hello at Paul. Jeremy Burt says, yo, Admiral Wackass. Julie Pascal says, we had a hand-me-down Atari with 3 games. I've been there. Ethan can talk Atari horror stories. He's got the best one. Son of Liberty Radio, the truck stop on the highway kicks in and outs. Yes, agreed. He's like, I've got a place, guys, a secret place. John saying hello to everybody. You know nothing, John Snowden says. End the conversation and just say Neo Geo. Wow,
Oh,
there you go. Entering the fray. Yeah, absolutely. And let's see. Teflon Ron says, I hear Five Guys is the closest thing to an In-N-Out burger, but way more expensive. I believe it.
Yeah. And they give you enough fries for about 4 people when you order. It's weird.
I found the fries lacking, but let's continue. No,
Right.
no, I'm kidding.
I mean, they're fried potatoes. It's pretty hard to screw it up. But,
oh man, I gotta tell you, I love me some fries here, you know. And then we've got Cross Comics. It's good to see you in the chat. Yeah, Wendy's is reliable and delicious. From you know nothing, John Snowden. And Cross Comics says Atari was my first video game system. Then ColecoVision. My God, time warp right there.
right.
And then we've got Charles Lee saying played Donkey Kong as a stand-up console. Let's see here. God Almighty, it's jumping again here. But yeah, I mean, it's.
I'm gonna ban you from the channel, Alex. I know Alex. He's a local San Diego guy.
Yeah. What's
I
up,
spoke
Alex?
at his art school. He's a great guy. He's actually written some comics. I think it was published by Image or something. I know he wrote something that came out in the last few years. So congratulations to Alex on that. Because when I met him, he was still working on it.
Nice.
He is a San Diegan. I am a Coloradan. I live in San Diego, and he is insulting my Denver Broncos with that comment. So I won't ban you for this, but you're on my list now. How dare you? How dare you? We just fired. Okay, I'm not going to turn this into sports talk, but we got a new coach. We got Aaron Rodgers, offensive coordinator. So we're going to get Aaron Rodgers and win the Super Bowl next year. Okay, the sports segment of the show is now over. So. Oh my God, I love this comment, and I want to tell you guys. Son of Liberty Radio. My parents camped out in front of the store for 2 days to get us Pac-Man for the Atari. In December of 2006, I spent the night, for the only time I've ever done it, in front of a GameStop in Greeley, Colorado. I still live there, to get my kids the Nintendo Wii because I heard it was the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
So that was about 2 weeks before Christmas or something like that. I bring it home, and I'm just fascinated by the idea of the Wii and, you know, the motion controller and all the stuff like that. So at night, in the 2 weeks leading up to Christmas, and my kids know this, I already told them, I would open the Wii and set it up and play it like at midnight. My kid's gift. I was playing my kid's gift for 2 weeks.
Technically, it's all yours.
I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed of myself.
Well, you know, I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, for me, I love art and I love creativity and I love stuff that people are into. So you know, a lot of the stuff that I look at that inspires me, it doesn't matter to me if it's video game concept art, movie concept art. If it's creative and it's imaginative, I can get into it. So I love playthroughs of games like BioShock. Right. I love, you know, all sorts of, you know, the amazing production design and story stuff that happens in video games. But if I can watch those while I draw, and that's the thing. If I was playing them, I'd have to be, you know, totally dialed in. So I like to watch playthroughs every now and again just to see what the art form's doing.
Right. I think as an illustrator, one of my favorite forms of art is video game concept art. There's so much gorgeous art going on in there. I followed some of those big studios and stuff since I was in college, like in the early 2000s, like 2003 or 4. I found them online and made links on my web browser. And to this day, 20 years later, I still have the same links because I absolutely love that. There was a studio in LA called Massive Black. There was just Matt Dixon, like so many great concept artists that I loved. And I'm sure you know plenty from your experience.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have students who concept designed the main character. I forget what her name was. I think it was Elizabeth, maybe, for BioShock Infinite. And, you know, I've taught a lot of different people who have worked on video games, Guitar Hero and things like that. But, you know, the thing for me about video games that people don't understand is and this was actually one of the theories that I put out there when I was teaching, one of the structures I thought would be worth, considering, is that people always talk about comics as narrative storytelling devices. And I actually don't think they are narrative model stories. I think that they're ritual model stories, which means that when you go and you perform like a religious ritual or a spiritual sort of ritual, you go into the building and the environment dictates your experience. So it's not you looking through other characters. It's you go in, maybe you dip your hands in the holy water, maybe you take your shoes off here, maybe you whatever way in which you do it. And so the environment, the ritual model is you put a bunch of people into this ritual space and they all have their own experience, their own relationship with it. And it's the similar trials they have to go through, the same door they have to walk through, that makes it a spiritually uplifting experience. Versus it's the difference between walking into a church or reading the Bible. Completely different structure, but they both affect you spiritually. And so that's the thing for me that I think is the brilliance of it, is the environment dictates your experience so much more, and that the other people there, much like the statues that you see, when you see them, how you interpret them and how you interact with them affects you on a very profound level. And I love that about them.
Wow. I don't know what to say about that. That's brilliant. It really is. Yeah, it is ritual. It is dictated by the environment. Goodness. I don't know. I don't know. There's something about video games. I think I always loved the art and the environment. You're talking about environment more than the games themselves. Remember earlier I said Warhammer, the tabletop miniature game.
Yes.
I love to get some styrofoam, and if you melt it a little bit with matches, or if you put super glue on styrofoam, you can melt it and mold it, paint it green, make a mountain, make rubble, make bases.
Yeah.
I love the artistic making the landscape more than playing with the dice and playing Warhammer. And this came with the 8-bit Nintendo back in 1985.
Beautiful.
It was, and I would just read over this thing. That's where I went. I'm going to go off camera. I keep this by my drawing desk. But I mean, since I was 9 years old or so, I've had this book, and I would just go over all the maps and what are the enemies' names and all that. And like Warhammer, I always loved the lore and the concept and all that more than the gameplay itself. The game is fun or whatever, but I don't know, there's something about igniting the imagination with the concept art and the environments and all that. How do you let me ask how you apply that practically to something like Nosfero? How did you
absolutely
that gothic design and all that? What were your big influences for Nosfero?
My biggest influence for Nosfero is my love of Halloween. I love and Del Toro said this. I thought this was really brilliant. I love the aesthetics of horror, but I'm not. My art is about the aesthetics of horror, but not the mechanics of horror. So the best way I would think to put that is that if you love Halloween, if you love like creatures, if you love all that stuff, and there will be some gore, there will be a little bit, not a lot, but there'll be monster type gore and things like that. If you know my YouTube channel, you've seen that stuff. But what it really is it's a myth, and it's a what I call it is the genre I work in is supernatural hero stories. So they're like superheroes. Like Nosfero is a powered hero, but he is much more like an old-fashioned, pulp fantasy character fighting vampires. And so when I'm sitting down and thinking about it, I think about the reader coming into my book and opening that book up and thinking about going, wow, I'm going into this world. I want to transport them. I want everything to be beautiful, aesthetic, and deeply enriching. And I want them to care about these characters. And I want them to, so in Nosfero's case, here's how I would pitch a story to somebody when I'm pitching stories. And here's how I pitch Nosfero. We all know that, vampires can bite you and turn you into a vampire, or they can bite you and drain your blood and leave you for dead. I wanted to create a character that has this weird quality to him that is before he gets what are known as his powers. He has this genetic defect or whatever, anomaly, where he never runs out of blood. And he can't turn into a vampire. Now, what that means is when they get a hold of him, they treat him like a pony keg until he's able to escape. So he has to endure the presence of the vampire. He has to be around them, but he can't die and he can't join their world. And so during that process, he's forged as a hero, and what he is revealed to him, much like RoboCop having his biology stripped away. His spirit is still intact. so that when he is able to, become free, and teams up with, he's raised by a werewolf, so to speak, which is in honor of, I'm sure John Malin will appreciate that. And but when he escapes, he then is brought into an understanding of the skills. And, it's that to me is a story that's about, redemption. It's about the human spirit. And it's about the fact that I think that good is good and evil is evil. And that those shades of gray, as so many people say, when the good meets the evil halfway, the evil is the only side that benefits. Yeah. My story is about how characters who are committed through discipline to good or have that inherently good quality triumph over evil, no matter how epic the forms are. And so when I look at what Timothy Fitzgerald says, I'm going to say the same thing that Cecil says every time. I would talk about, I want to say it's closing out tomorrow. Tonight is the last night. I'm going to say that every day until it's true one day. So okay. Yeah, it's
how long do you plan? It's closing tonight. So rush over.
Cecil, it's the last night to back cash grab. We're closing it out.
Hey, not even kidding. Did that book come out or not?
Not yet. No idea. I have no idea what's happening. Yeah.
Who knows? Who can really say? Yeah. So speaking of when is it closing out? I just put the link in the chat, guys. If you want to go check out Nosfero, you're getting the best here from Shanth. He's like me.
We're stuck, guys. We're right at that 298.
It's gonna break.
Yeah, it's gonna break. Someone's gonna go in there and just shove it, and then someone's gonna want to be 300.
Right.
That's what's gonna happen.
Oh, it's a couple guys waiting it out, having a face-off.
Yeah, they're waiting to see who it is.
Speaking of a face-off, do you know what I watched 3-4 nights ago?
It better be face-off.
It should have been, damn it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Once Upon a Time in the West.
I love that movie.
Holy,
yeah, you know that. Love that movie.
Holy, yeah, you had the great painting of I want to call him Roddy, but it's not. It's what's
Woody Strode.
Woody, not Roddy. Woody Strode.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
Roddy Strode. I'm making up guys now. Yeah, that painting was beautiful. And then your Bronson as Cad Bane was amazing too.
Oh man, I was having fun with that. And then he made a real appearance in the Book of Boba Fett the other day, I heard. So I like the Bronson version better. Yeah, they did a
who made an appearance in Book of Boba Fett?
Cad Bane, the character that I painted way back when I got the idea.
You were saying that Charles Bronson made
no, God, that would be very difficult, but you never know.
Have you seen that guy that looks exactly like Charles Bronson and is making action movies?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I love that. He's from Eastern Europe or somewhere, isn't he?
Right. And I
think that total Bronson look, yeah.
He looks just like him. It's called the movie's called Death Kiss.
Oh, cool.
And I thought it was someone with a weird mask doing a Bronson. Mm-hmm. But here's a still. Here's a picture from Death Kiss. Hold on, let me bring this over here real quick. I'm not making this up. This is real. You see that?
Oh my Lord.
That's that guy's real face.
That's uncanny.
Isn't it? It's
absolutely uncanny.
I got to be careful. I don't know if there's any nudity if I scroll down on these photos.
Be careful.
When you do an image search, you're looking for something harmless. Like you Google X-Men.
Yeah, you get all kinds of things. Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's funny. I was looking at the chat, guys. I'm painting right now. For the last 2 days, I've been painting with my giant Frank Frazetta art book opened up on the desk. And every time I think about it, the rawness of Frazetta's Conan is an influence to me. And H.P. Lovecraft being someone who one of my mentors lived in the house referenced in the Call of Cthulhu, the artist studio space that they mentioned in that book. I've been in there. One of my mentors in college had a studio space in there. So yeah, it's a lot of Lovecraft.
Okay. Yeah, very cool. How much Lovecraft, but how much Robert E. Howard? If you had to go percentage wise.
That's a good one. I would 50-50. Now it wasn't at first, but now it's 50-50.
Okay. Yep. Now it is.
No, but it's funny. This was in the last couple of weeks. I was trying to find this character, as we often do, when we're working on these things. And you start a book, like if you look at Todd McFarlane's Spawn or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or any indie book when it's new, it takes a while before it becomes Ramita Spider-Man, right? It's Steve Ditko. It goes through all these different phases. And when I was working on this book and I'm doing these paintings and I'm putting it together, all of a sudden I looked at him and I went, he needs more muscle. He needs to be able to kill somebody by hitting them with the side of his sword, like the flat part of it. Like, I want him to be brutal, and I want him to be able to get it done so that when he's at rest and he's standing there, much like, Conan, I want him to be tough, because I love the idea of a Lovecraftian powered Conan going up against a Lovecraftian powered Dracula, and that's what happens in this book.
I don't know. I'm excited for it to come out. I really love that sort of thing. I mean, who doesn't love the mystery of the Lovecraftian thing? Because what's so horrifying about a lot of what H.P. Lovecraft writes is what he doesn't say. That thing, those shadows in the night, and then you turn on the light, no, it's just a pile of laundry. You're a little kid. And just that fear of the dark, I guess, as a concept, not as a literal concept, but as an abstract, that fear of the unknown, he does it so well. Talking about the ancient old ones in the outer darkness and not really explaining it,
and Solomon Kane is such a great reference. I love our chat. We have, guys, I'm not just saying this. I'm saying this because I am an escapee of faculty meetings. and those are where imagination, creativity, and the spirit goes to die, or goes to be organized. There's this great story, and before I get to Solomon Kane, it's my favorite story about the devil I've ever heard. I thought it was fantastic. There's this man is walking down the street with the devil, which is a weird way to start your day, and they look ahead of them and they see this guy look down, see something on the ground, bend over, pick it up, and put it in his pocket. And the man says to the devil, "What did that guy just do?" And the devil goes, "Oh, he just found a piece of truth." And the man looks at the devil and goes, "Hey, that's bad news for you, isn't it, devil?" And the devil goes, "No, I'm going to teach him how to organize it."
Oh.
And it is one of those things that I just go, brutal, right? And so I've been listening to audiobooks of Solomon Kane. And what I would say about that is that Solomon Kane gets very conflicted. He's a great character, but he gets very conflicted spiritually about, he's got certain fallible things he does. With Nosfero, he has the difficulties on the personal side, but his relationship with good and God is rock solid, which makes the difficulties that he experiences all the more difficult. So it's not like, he's bad things don't happen to him, he's unflappable. He has a complete connection, but he has had this doorway opened in his forehead, which is why he's got that piece of metal through his nose to keep it from opening completely, to this evil Lovecraftian world. But much like, a character like RoboCop, his spiritual center is just a big part of, like, he's one with this evil world physically, but he is not, it does not take him over. He bends those experiences to good. And I love that.
I love that concept of resolve. What could be more human than resolve? Quickly talking about the Lovecraftian fear of the dark, I thought this was a creepy statement. I said he says the fear of not being alone in the dark. That is terrifying. I love this from almost got banned for shit talking the Denver Broncos, Alex Schirkenbach.
That's right. Love you, Alex.
You guys think the never-ending story, Spider-Man, Superman, the Simpsons, the things that never end, the long story, Preacher, Sandman, or the short stories where comics are right now? I think what I see, I don't buy comics. I haven't bought them. That's not a word. I haven't purchased them in like 3 or 4 years because I have too many. When I worked at Wildstorm in DC, we got everything DC published every week for free. They'd set it all out on a table, and you just take whatever you want home. There was all kinds of extras from years and years gone by. I have so many comic books, it's ridiculous. And I quit liking them because the SJW writing, I like the art, but I quit buying comic books a long time ago. I'll buy art books that I love and this and that. So what I see, I said all that to say this. I don't buy a lot, but what I see in the news releases and this and that, they're not in the long story, and they're not in, I guess they're in the short story. They're in the moment of whatever these Marxist communists say, "Oh, I want to make this statement." And then the book, inevitably the sales are not good. And then they relaunch it with a new number one every year or 18 months, rinse, repeat. So I think they're trying to do ongoings because that's the tradition of superheroes. But this stuff seems to always be getting canceled and relaunched and canceled and relaunched, and it's not good.
Yeah. Nosfero, when you get Nosfero, this is the first story, first appearance, the first, this is Nosfero. This is your chance to get that first issue. The first issue will be a story that is self-contained, and the next story that the character goes on, they will all be adventures you could jump in on for the most part and get what's going on, but it's not going to be continued. When you get to the end of the story, I think for me, and this is something I've spent a lot of time thinking about, the story has to wrap up with a promise of more adventure to come, but it has to be this self-contained thing so that I want people to want to return to these books to read them. Do you know what I mean? Like I want them to be these mini arcs of story, and then you kind of see where characters come from. There are things that will pay off, like the Sherlock Holmes stories are a really good example of that. There are sometimes reoccurring characters, but you can go into Hound of the Baskervilles and be ready to rock. And that's what I love.
Yes, absolutely. My work that I'm doing with Gary Martin and David Williams, Truth, Justice, American Way.
Yes.
That is, you can compare it to like your Star Wars stuff. We have 3 big ones planned, but you could read each one individually, and it will have a beginning, middle, and end. There will be an overall continuity, of course. If it does well enough, and I believe it will. I have a lot of confidence in this project. The response I've seen has been pretty amazing. I had fan art today. And one thing when you learn about persuasion, when people move their physical body in response to what you're suggesting, that's a very strong indicator that they're actually into it. Talk is cheap, action means something. And I got my first piece of fan art today from he was in the chat earlier. He's a younger guy. I think he's Brazilian. And he's very enthusiastic about art, and he's getting pretty good. He's still an amateur, but I wonder if I could find it. I had it on my Instagram. Yeah. But ours are you can read the first edition that's coming out, and it'll be a standalone story. And I think that's the best way to do it. I think it's sort of like movies or like novels. You know what I mean? You'll have
or Star Trek for that matter. The original series. It's like it's a self-contained story. But you've got these 3 characters that become the core, right? And you've got 3 characters in yours that are the core, and then the world changes, around them. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Admiral Wackass is agreeing with this concept of the shorter story here. Graham Nolan was talking about how he loves the short story form. I just read Chinu today. He's great at it. I miss Chinu. Before I got into Comicsgate in October, like finally joined, I'd gotten so sick of what happened during the last election and all the fighting and people getting kicked off of Twitter and YouTube and how just rampant up. And then the middle of the COVID pandemic, this is November of 2020, the election, right? And I just got off social media. I quit watching Comicsgate streams. I quit tweeting. I deleted Twitter. I never went on Facebook. I just said, I don't want to hear anything. So I missed the Chinu or the Shinu or whatever.
Yeah, Shinu,
and that era of Comicsgate, I missed it because I didn't want to watch anything from anywhere of anything. I was just I needed to just do my work for DC Comics, lift weights, and go for a walk. And I just didn't. For almost a year, I just avoided all of it. So I really regret missing out on Shinu, but I'll get a hold of one somehow. I hear it's fantastic. So.
Yeah, and it's someone who asked in the chat, is Nosfero planned as a one-off or an ongoing series of adventures? If it keeps on track and it keeps growing, it is open to absolutely being an ongoing series of adventures. I even know what the next story is going to be.
Sure.
But this is the one thing I will say that I found interesting when I hear people talking about this stuff. The way I like John Malin's approach. I will make reprints of these books available. But when it comes to the first printings, I'll overprint to cover if damaged books and things like that. But you will never be able to get the first printings of my books cheaper. I think that's important. And I think that I really believe the thing I love about Comicsgate is rewarding people who get in on the ground level is really important.
You have
as opposed, you have to reward people who back these books early. And I will say that I think that what we've seen is that when people back a book and then you release, your next book, it will always go up. But I want to make sure that those first printings that we do, those are the things. It's like, if I miss the first printing here, I got to get a second printing. But I think that first printing is so important because I really believe in that aspect of it. So yeah, it will. I want it to be ongoing, and I want to grow this thing because I have no end of stories for this. It can go so many places.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right on rewarding these customers. I feel that now I'm doing very well financially. I'm not saying that to brag, but I was very, very poor when I first got married. I worked at Toys R Us when I got married. My wife waited tables at Coco's. We done been poor, not anymore, thank God. So, and I know some of you out there, you're broke, you're poor, you work check to check. Believe me, I did that for married 25 years. I think a majority of my marriage, it was tough financially.
Yeah.
So it's not lost on me when you guys spend $25 on a book,
never lost. Yeah.
$10 shipping. It is not lost on me what a sacrifice that is. So Shanth is exactly right. We have to reward the OG backers. I reward the people on my mailing list. I made that video I showed at the beginning of the show. Only they could see that like the first 6 hours it was out. And I told them that in the email. I said, you guys are on my email list. Okay, you get to see this first. And I'm going to hear
something scary.
Go ahead.
People who signed up early for Nosfero, I told everybody who signed up early and backs Nosfero. So everybody, you had to sign up, be on the mailing list, and then you had to back the project, is going to be getting an index card sized watercolor paper that will have an ink sketch on it by me. So I will do an ink sketch for everybody.
How many did that end up being? Do you know?
Well, I think it was 200 and something early signups. So if assuming all the early signups backed, I will be doing all 200 of those.
All right. Have fun.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm a machine when it comes to that stuff. It's fun. And it's ink and it's going to be, they'll be beautiful, but I take the stuff seriously. And that's why the first edition of this book, like there'll be stickers. There's all this cool stuff. We have all the swag that's going to go outside of the book in there, but that's not stuff that's going to be repeated for the future campaigns. There'll be new stuff. There'll be, a reprint and things like that, but it won't be cheaper to wait is the goal. I want it to be something that it's the cheapest it is when we launch.
Right.
And that's how we got to do it.
Okay. Well, yeah. And if you're on my mailing list early, you're going to get something that looks about like this. That's just a mock-up I did the other day based on the 1988 Topps baseball card set my grandmother bought me.
Beautiful.
That's American way. And you'll be able to get this card with the campaign if you don't sign up, but it won't be the same card. I'll change something like maybe the writing on the exclusive will be foil, or maybe the background will be a different color. Yeah. But you only will get the card if you sign up on the mailing list. What's the big deal getting on a mailing list, right? And then you get perks. You get to see behind the scenes stuff that I won't show anyone anywhere else, actually, like some of the sketch art that we're doing and the concept art. Like, I got to move it fast because I don't want to show it off. Concept art that I'm doing for the story. That's a character I'm working on right there.
That's awesome. Spoilers.
Yeah, Dave is. Go ahead and try and pause the video and screenshot it. You'll never figure it out.
That's right. But, zoom in, clean up.
Zoom and enhance. Did you know that meme of zoom and enhance, it now actually is a real thing with AI?
Yeah, my son did that with an old photo.
Images and fix them now.
So one of the coolest things that my son has done, he's a cool kid, and one of my favorite things he's done is he took my late father-in-law, there was this picture my wife loves of him, and he ran it through that. And, when you see somebody you've known so well and that you've lost and it gets enhanced and you're like, that's actually how the person looked. It's a miracle. My wife it made her day. So great.
Wow. Yeah, I've seen that. That's really crazy stuff. We used to, every one of us used to make fun of CSI going zoom and enhance, and now they can take pixelated stuff and the AI will figure out what should be there. It's pretty amazing. I wanted to address this one because the chat has jumped up again.
Yep.
Timothy Fitzgerald, is truth, justice, an American way like Astro City type world where superheroes exist and we are focused on these three heroes, or are they unique in their world? Well, you're going to have to read to find out. But Dave and I, we're making our own superhero universe. Okay? We are. Because here's the thing that you guys, you amazing Comicsgate fans have given me. Let me put on the chapstick while I kiss your butts. But I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Working for the mainstream Marvel and DC, I made a lot of money, a lot of prestige, whatever it is, but it was a slog. Every deadline was brutal, and it wasn't, the joy is sucked out of it because it's art by committee. And it's just like, it's not the same. And what you guys have given me is the carefree playfulness of being a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, whatever I was, in the back of my grandparents' restaurant drawing on butcher paper. And this is the long way of, I'm answering your question. When I talked to Dave about, well, what should this be? Or what should that be? Or what kind of vehicle does he have? The answer we always come back to is like, well, what do you like to draw? You know what I mean? Like, well, what do you like to color? What do you like to talk about? So you guys have given me the freedom to do whatever. So yes, we're creating our own universe. But the first book focuses on this three. I think it's going to be more than successful enough to finance I want to hire writers and artists and do interstitial stories. I know that we have a fan favorite breaking out already with this Justice character.
Yeah.
That's the one I see the most comments about. And let me open this really quick. Just to bring it up here for anyone who doesn't know who I'm talking about, Justice right here. And I want to do a solo book kind of focusing on him a little bit. Maybe we could do a one-off, like a 22-page adventure. Maybe I could do an anthology where we could have some solo stories with the heroes or go explore other heroes. I've worked on everything under the sun. You name it, I've worked on it. Star Wars, X-Men, no, not X-Men, but basically everything I've ever wanted to work on, except one thing I never worked on was Ninja Turtles.
Oh, yeah.
And IDW was one freeway exit from my house. They've moved somewhere else now in San Diego, but I see IDW driving down the 5 freeway. It literally was right next to a Costco, if you believe it or not. And that's where IDW was. And they do Ninja Turtles. And I know those guys, Tom Waltz and all those great editors there.
Yeah.
And so I told Dave, well, what if we want to do something like the Ninja Turtles in our world? I say, okay, we'll just make up our own version. So that's the longest way of saying to you, it's like an Astro City. We're going to do whatever we want in this city and just have a ton of fun. So yes.
Yeah. I mean,
look forward to lots of adventures.
Yeah. I mean, and someone asked me, I saw some people in the chat who I know were regulars in my streams. Guys, the cool thing about having your creators individually pack up your products is if they come across somebody they know, there's no telling what they could sneak into the book. Right. You never know.
Right.
I'm not sending it to my shipping people. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be, the wife and I and my daughter, who is, I want to get her involved in it because she's a ridiculously organized person. And I want to make sure that, when we send things out and they're to people we know, just like when you buy from any store back in the day, where you know the people, there's going to be fun things. It is what it is.
Yeah, I think the same thing. If it's someone I see in the chat or one of my mods, I hope when I'm packing that I'll notice their name or whatever, and I'll be able to stick something a little something extra in there for them.
Yep.
But someone was saying in the chat they love the new Trinity here. Yeah, we are having an absolute blast. It's funny. David Williams, he came up with the character Truth based on a woman he met when he was a young kid that had a big impact on him and stuff. And someone pointed out to Dave, and he showed me this picture. I'm going to go fetch it off Instagram in the private chat between Dave and I, that this woman looks just like Michael Caine's wife.
Whoa.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. But I'm scrolling through our
Hail Michael Caine.
I'm trying to find, there's dozens and dozens of DMs here on Instagram, so I might not be able to find it. But here we go. Okay, so this is Truth, but now this is Michael Caine's wife in real life here.
He's doing all right.
Yeah,
Michael's,
Yeah, someone pointed out that this woman has the same, like that jaw structure where the wide mandible.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
See that?
Wow, she's beautiful. My God.
Yeah, whoever she is. I don't know who this lady is, but salute to Mr. Michael Caine.
Absolutely. Hail.
Yeah. Hail indeed. I don't know what the story. Oh, that must be their wedding, you think?
What's interesting? I was wondering if it was their wedding or if it was on set, because that does look like one of his early movies, but then I find myself thinking, I'm not sure. Maybe they met on the set of a movie.
Who the hell?
But it's one of those things, man. It's when I go and I look at Admiral Wackass.
Admiral Wackass is hoping for a little freebie in there.
You never know, guys.
You're gonna send him a decoder ring. Be sure to drink your Ovaltine.
I was one of those. It's funny. I always. The thing I always say about it is that, and I don't have any problem saying this, but when it comes to backing creators, there are certain people that when you back them and you support them, they're the kind of people who will go that extra mile with whatever resources they have. Like, I want to make money doing this stuff. When I say make money, I mean, I don't want to lose money and I want there to be a profit. We're not an anti-capitalist,
I'll
culture.
say right now to the camera, I want you guys to make me a millionaire, but I fully intend on earning it.
Absolutely. I want to earn that. You said it perfectly. I want to earn that millions. But it's like when you see Ethan, like, I love when he says the quotes of Andre going, we are going to figure out a way to make money at this, right? It talks about putting all the extras in and making the extra special box and then putting a box inside of that box and having a figure for everybody. And for us, even on the smaller campaigns, if I can do a little bit extra for my fans and for my backers, and it just requires me to lose about 5 more minutes of sleep a night, then I'm doing it. It's going to happen. It's just, that's the gear that we have.
No, I know you mean that. I see the way you put your blood, sweat, and tears into your work.
Yep.
And yeah, I fully expect a huge gift in my copy of Nosfero.
Of course you will. Yeah, of course.
So, here's a question I cannot answer from Teflon Ron, one of my good buddies. Teflon Ron is a master of great news articles and memes. We made friends, I don't know, like a year or two ago on Instagram. It's like, who's this guy? He keeps private messaging me, but I'm real open on the internet. I'll talk to anyone in private message.
Yeah.
And then I liked his crazy stories. Have you ever listened to Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell?
Yes. Yeah, I have. Yep.
For those of you that don't know, this is the X-Files as a radio show. Like all the people who, I'm not going to say they're crazy, but they call up in the middle of the night and they describe their alien abduction, or the black helicopters are following them, or the contrails in the skies, the mind control powder or whatever. Teflon Ron sends me some videos that are crazy like that, and then some just really interesting political ones, and then some awesome religious ones. So I just wanted to say thank you to Teflon in front of everyone. Great DMs there on Instagram. I wondered who you were at first. I thought you were an interesting cat, but he's a good guy. Does Truth, Justice, and American Way live in a made-up city like Metropolis or in a real-life city? I don't know if I should answer that. Does that spoil anything?
Maybe hold that thought.
I'm gonna have to confer with my co-collaborators. I don't think I should answer that. It's so much fun. I'm not going to talk about it. I can't answer that. Sorry, Ron.
Pete said, will there be trade paperbacks, collected editions, graphic novels of the comics? So here's the thing I wanted to say about the stuff I do. If you can make me full screen, or bigger screen, or whatever it is.
I can't make you bigger. You're going to have to lift weights and eat more.
Well, I'm getting bigger, but it's not from lifting weights, Gabe. But this is the thing. So when I do a book, and Nosfero's included, every book I do is a square bound, high gloss, heavy stock interior paper. And so when you're getting one of my books, and this is one of my art books that's available as an add-on, I think there's some left. But when you get one of my books and you get the artwork, it is on high quality paper. You can slide it into your bookshelf. So it's not a floppy, it's a soft cover. And the paper stock is not light even remotely. It's pretty solid paper stock. So yeah, that's pretty much what we're talking about. So if you're new to comics, or if you are thinking about backing, at least the stuff I'm doing with the art books and with Nosfero, it's going to be an 8.5 by 11 square bound, glossy, thick paper book. So it is, in a sense, with the quality of a trade paperback.
All right, and to answer you, Pete, from me, ours is a 64-page square bound, like Shanth was saying, graphic novel.
Yeah.
And it might be longer because I'm writing the script, and I was talking to Dave on the phone. I'm like, I need more pages in the story. You got to earn your moments as a writer. You can't just say, and then this happened, and then this happened. Yep. You have to earn it with logic and emotion. And so the story's growing a little bit. So I don't know how long the script's going to be, but right now it's 64 pages. This thing might be longer. And it will be a standalone story, but totally open to parts 2 and 3 that we want to do, and the stories in between. So we fully intend on filling up the next few years of our schedule with this. So, and someone commented earlier, and I saw it, and I was trying to hold on to it, but the chat keeps moving. So I'm sorry, whoever you are. You said you missed when I made this my project instead of Beef Law. Yeah, sorry, I need a small drink from talking. Yeah, Beef Law's on the back burner because Dave came to me with this idea, and he pointed out to me that, my brand as a person, and what I'm doing is defying Hollywood, defying DC Comics, getting an assignment to be an artist on Superman and telling DC, you know what, why don't you shove it with your commie nonsense where you want me to hurt kids? You want me to tell kids they're evil because they're white. And I'm not white, so I'm not being biased. You want me to tell kids they're horrible because they're Christian. You want me to tell kids they're terrible because they love their home country, not just America, but if you're patriotic anywhere. I'm not going to help you do that. So my brand was kind of, and like, you want to get rid of the American way in Superman? Like, how dare you? And so that's my brand there. And he said, you know what? You need to answer back. Instead of just complaining and being angry and saying they suck, why don't you show people what you love? So I've been telling people, this is how we win. Instead of yelling about what we hate and what's making us mad, we're going to talk about what we love, why it's precious, and why it should be preserved. So So that's why B-Flaw is on the back burner, because even though B-Flaw is what I love, I mean, I love Van Damme and martial arts and all that.
Yeah.
This Truth, Justice, American Way is a direct answer to them having Jim Lee come out and proudly make a statement that they're dumping that slogan officially to have truth, justice, and a better tomorrow, or truth, justice, and a better world, or whatever nonsense Tom Taylor cooked up. So that's why B-Flaw flip-flopped time with this. And frankly, David Williams is such a masterful artist. He's made me a better artist in the last 8 days than I have in the last 8 years gaining drawing skills, the things he's taught me. Let me I'm just he's put me to work doing a bunch of concept art and stuff. And like this, I drew this in about 10 minutes today. You know, just working on some stuff, just drawing women, drawing monsters, drawing different things. And you know, a drawing to me that good, it came out of me in 10 minutes. You know what I mean? And you won't believe how Dave has changed me as an artist. So and we talk about that directly. I told Dave, will you mentor me? Will you help me to draw better? Because I draw competently and I draw at a professional level for comics. I've drawn them professionally, but I don't draw as good as I want to. You know what I mean? And Dave is so damn good. And he told me that, do you guys all know who Dan Panosian is, the cover artist for Marvel and DC? He was a run-of-the-mill regular inker who couldn't draw very well. And he got a job working at, I believe, Cartoon Network or something like it with Dave. And Dave was one of the higher-up guys there. And Dave took him under his wing and showed him the things he's showing me about drawing. Yeah. And Dan Panosian will say that Dave is the person that helped him become the artist he is. So I told Dave, I'm gonna surpass Dan Panosian. That's my plan. So I'm gonna be working on Dave's method and the things he's teaching me about drawing for at least the next 6 months or a year before I even think about it. So B-Flaw might not be till the summer. I think we're gonna do Truth, Justice, American Way quite a bit before I get to B-Flaw. But don't worry about it. I love it. I love it more than you guys. Don't worry about it. It's coming. It is coming. So
yeah, it's good to see Phil in the chat too, and of course, How to Draw Comics by Dan Lawless. It's good to see you in the chat as well. Look at all these folks coming in here. It's great to see you guys.
Yeah, I keep seeing this Dan, and I hear he should do some stuff for CG, because I've seen he was in Malin's art contest, and he had a great Conan illustration I saw the other day.
Oh yeah,
he had a really funny one today. I won't spoil it, but go check out How to Draw Comics by Dan Lawless. Go check out. I think it was on his Twitter today. A very comedic Conan. So let's see. Leg kick one. Up your level, Gabe. Good man. Yeah, I want B-Flaw to be the work of my life. Yeah. And I have a great project right now with Dave and Gary. So I said, okay, that buys me more time to become a better artist, because why not? The growth I've seen in just a week. Like the main thing that's happened to me with Dave's methods and his ideas that he's teaching me about drawing is I can actually see the mass now. I thought I could see the mass, the 3D of a shoulder, of a thigh. I thought I was seeing it. And then Dave taught me some stuff and showed me some technique and some different ways to think, but also just different physically ways to draw. And it's like when Neo can see all the numbers and the letters, I'm like, oh, I can really see the mass now. And now when you want to swing poses and get that Kirby action in there, I'm starting to understand how to do that just so much more naturally, because I could do it, but I wouldn't always know how I did it. You know what I mean? It was like a rote thing that I taught myself. Well, it was like a magic trick that I didn't really understand how I did it. And now I'm starting to really see it. So I can't thank Dave enough for that. It's fantastic.
Absolutely, man.
So if that is true, then Malin, I'm sorry, he's wrong. Dan Panosian is maybe you mean he hates him like on a personal level. Maybe they have beef or something. Stole his.
That might be, all those guys, you never know.
I don't know Dan Panosian. I just know his art is freaking amazing. So yeah. So
and Phil's saying that we'll be seeing some CG stuff from Dan Lawless this year.
Oh,
awesome! 2022 is a CG year.
I wonder why Zayd knows that.
Phil knows everything.
I wonder if they're working together.
He's connected.
Right. Arthur Brown, the Uncanny Kodiak. Wow, he's from my channel from the old days.
There you go.
The like button is lonely. Why don't you throw this stream to your friends and snuggle up to the like button? Well.
Absolutely right.
Let's see this. Is there a specific writer you'd want to emulate on how you envision your story? There isn't. I have my favorite writers, but they're novelists. They're not comic book writers. And that's not an insult to comic book writers.
Yeah.
But I read a lot of books. And my favorite writer is Cormac McCarthy. And I don't think I write comics like him. I have a theory that all his books take place in hell, but they are my favorite books. Have you ever read any Cormac McCarthy, Sean?
No, but I will now.
The Road. Have you seen The Road, the movie?
Nope.
Have you seen No Country for Old Men?
Yes.
Okay, that's Cormac McCarthy.
Oh yeah. Okay. No, I'm starting to put it together now. Yeah, this is the thing about it. That movie and that kind of writing is basically feels like my childhood. Like Family in Texas, Family in Tennessee. Like I watch those movies and I'm like, yep, I know all these guys with the exception of Anton Sugar. But yeah, I love that stuff.
Right.
And there's a great question there from Alex. Do you guys think that maybe you joined CG because you hit a plateau and felt you needed to expand and grow? For me, if I can answer that before Gabe does, it was sort of the opposite in a weird way. CG came on the scene, and Ethan really inspired me to try crowdfunding. So and I wanted to do it just Shanth and Jetty art. Wanted to put myself out there, and it's because I'd been in academia so long, and people have sort of take credit for everything you do in academia. It's just the way it is. And so I was like, I want to do these books, and I want to show people that I can crowdfund these books. I had a big audience on Instagram for my artwork, but the making of the books, and then everything that leads to Nosfero. This book one is the thing I'm most proud of starting then, and then everything else has been up a bit. Came out of I needed CG because I was having this big creative growth, and I realized I couldn't stay in a job and I couldn't stay in an environment where people were trying to talk to me about creativity and making things in imagination, and I would only be free to do that kind of stuff in CG. I don't know if that makes any sense, but to me, that's what it was. CG allowed me to grow and do that stuff.
Yeah, so I think he's sort of right. It is a plateau. You're constrained by academia and that whole world, and then I think CG gives you the room. I think for me, let me look at this question and really think. I mean, it's not why I joined CG directly. I mean, I guess it is, but I've grown, honestly, this is going to sound like Oprah, but it's real. I've grown more as a person by joining CG than worrying about my comic book career. I mean, I'm in better financial shape than ever, and my job and blah, blah, blah. All of it's just God's blessing is amazing. But my heart and my spirit and my mind is like better than ever. I have a better relationship with God. I have a better relationship with my wife and kids. Yeah. My dad and I have reconnected. My parents divorced when I was little. So my dad and I have always been, not like at arm's length. It was bad. But he calls me all the time now. And I went out and visited him for 3 weeks. It's the most time I ever spent with my father at once since I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
And I think coming to CG freed me from this prison of just real oppression, real hatred, real bigotry from Hollywood against people like me and a lot of us in the crowd. And maybe you're liberal or whatever in the crowd. I don't care. It's like, that's your life. That's whatever. It's not my problem. It's not my business, your politics, your religion. But I'm not going to deny mine. I'm not going to pretend like they're real. But I think joining CG allowed me to gain my self-respect where I wasn't compromising my beliefs and compromising who I was and who I am and what I stand for and just going along with this bullshit because I was being a coward and just like, well, I have a prestigious job and I have a good paycheck so I can pay the mortgage on this building right here on this house I own. So I'll just put up with commie bullshit and help confuse children and teach them America is awful. I'll just keep doing that. And it was gnawing at me for years.
Yeah.
And then I got a hold of Tom Taylor's first script for the new Superman book. I'd waited my whole career to get on either Superman or Batman so I could get the prestige and the royalties and all that. I finally get on the book. And the first issue, the first effing page, I open it. Let me show you. I'm going to go to it. Let me dig through my hard drive right here. Superman, Son of Kal-El. Where is it? Issue 1. Let me grab the script and just show you. This is what pissed me off because I knew what kind of a dude he was before we started working together, and I thought he won't do that, will he? He'll just play it straight, won't he? Won't he just do fun adventure Superman stuff? And sure enough, this is what I see. Sorry, the computer's opening it slowly because it knows we're online, but I don't want to say it. I want to show it. So here's a script from Tom Taylor. Let me go. This is what you get in your email, right? Superman. That shit right there. Hold on. Let me know. That. Truth, justice in a better world. I saw that and I'm like, pardon my French, fuck you, Tom Taylor. When I saw that, I know exactly what you're up to. I know exactly what you're doing when you write stuff like that. And sure enough, I was right. We all saw what a disaster that was. So it started off on the wrong foot. I knew that's the kind of guy he was going to be. And I was hoping he wouldn't. I was hoping my book wouldn't be woke so I wouldn't have to leave. But I'm not going to participate in stuff like that. They want to spit in the creators that made this whole business for us in their faces. Yep. Do it without me. No, thank you. So
that's why I left. I mean, we had a change in administration at this college that was totally filled with, frankly, the real diversity for me anyway, socioeconomic diversity of kids who had jobs and we wanted to help them get a better career. And then all of a sudden we got a new administration, new president came in, and diversity, equity, and inclusion were the first words out of his mouth. Right. And the thing I would say to people about it is I don't make more money than I did when I was teaching college, doing CG, obviously. Right. And this is the thing about it, right? Is that this is probably where the faith thing comes into it for me. There's this sickening feeling when you know you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, even if you started down a road of doing what you were supposed to be doing.
Right.
And the thing that's always kind of guided me is, and someone asked me in the chat, what percentage of Ethan's videos? I've seen openings to his streams where he plays all these videos and there's maybe one that's mine or none that are mine. So there's a ton of people doing videos for him. Mm-hmm. But when I started doing videos, the thing I've always seen when I see something I believe in, whether it's teaching art or whether it's something like Comicsgate, is I always look at it and it moves me with its idea, teaching art or the love of creative freedom. And I look at it and I go, there's a place to shore up its defenses because it matters and I need to get on the battlefield. And for Ethan's show, it was, I'm going to do some video edits for him. I'm going to, put some stuff on there to help shore that up. I'm going to back some books. I'm going to do it that way. And it finally got to a point where I go, now I'm ready to enter the fray creatively and do a book that I think is worth doing and that sort of takes the play away from what people think CG is. And that conscience, you're absolutely right, Leg Kick One, that's everything, that's everything. If you don't, I mean, that integrity, I mean, it's, what was it? You say this all the time. It's one of those famous quotes. It's doing the right thing when nobody's looking.
Right. It's dance like nobody's watching, love like you've never been hurt before. Just kidding.
Yeah. No, it's exactly right. Yeah. Well, and it's, what is the, hold on a second, so we can find this.
Which one?
Oh, this, I'm going to see if I can put this where you can share it here. Hang on a second. Share. Let's see here. How do I do this?
I'm going to address this while you're looking, okay?
Yeah, please do.
Timothy Fitzgerald. Gabe, what is the latest on Oath of Blood, Oath of Bone? Well, that project is not happening ever for the foreseeable future. I don't want to get into it too much, but my co-collaborator on that left the project. I'll leave it at that. He doesn't want to go forward with that. I'm not going to say why or say anything else. Philippe's a good guy, and I still consider him a friend and everything. So sorry if that disappoints you a ton, but I don't want to do that project alone, and I don't want to do it with someone else. That was a baby Philippe and I had been nurturing for a long time. Some stuff happened, and that's not happening. But it paved the way for this right here, which frankly is a lot more fun, and it's a lot more in line with what I want to do anyway. So, but thank you for asking. I only mentioned it once online. I think I mentioned it with Shanth like 2-3 weeks ago that project was no more. And it's funny, the day that project fell apart, Dave, the illustrator for Truth, Justice, American Way, called me up and pitched me this idea. He just had the very basic outline and wanted me to write the story. So that other one's gone. So don't worry about it. I loved it too, but it's not around.
So I got an image for you to share on there that sums up. You've seen it before. You've seen
Where is it? Is it in the private chat or is it on
no, it should be. I think I put.
Okay.
You see it right down there. There you go.
There you go.
That's what it's about for me, guys. Hold fast, outclass, and outlast CG for life, which is to say hold out and last. Don't allow yourself to get sucked into any of this BS. And that was an image I made that when I was thinking about CG and thinking about t-shirts, thinking about people getting excited about it is that my principles didn't change that I came in to teach art school with, although I will definitely say I experienced things that slow sort of coercion you get. But I thought you teach people skills, they can come out and get a job. Art school could be done better. And you can't change people who are determined, to go down that, crazy Marxist insane road as an institution.
Right.
Well, I came into CG because I could have individual liberty as a creator, make the things I want and be affiliated with people, but not feel as though anybody was going to control my economic destiny, but that we could collaborate together as people who are individuals with our own projects and benefit together. And I think that is a very different thing than the collectivist stuff. That's frankly the foundations of this country and what I love about America,
Right. Absolutely. We got a David Brohawk Williams sighting.
Absolutely.
He's your illustrator here, guys. Well, he's your penciler. And then the great Gary Martin is the inker, but David inked this.
Salute you, David.
All the material so far. If you guys want David to come online, you need to find him online and harass him. Or have his address. I could put his address in the chat. Should I do that?
Yeah.
Should I do that? So a second project with the co-collaborator.
Let's not say we did.
So yes, if you want to see David on YouTube, I'm going to have the great Kelsey Shannon on my channel on Friday. I'm a busy beaver. I'm in promotion mode, Sean.
I got to do an intro for Kelsey.
I talked to 2 TV producers. I talked about 6 Twitter people. I contacted Daily Wire and Fox News and all kinds of people about going on TV to promote my book and all that, or Dave and I's book. So I've been very busy all day, and I'm doing the YouTube rounds as much as I can. I'm gonna have Chuck Dixon and Graham on tomorrow at noon. I'm gonna go on Charlie's London's channel tomorrow at like 2 or 3. This is all Pacific times. Then I'm gonna have Kelsey Shannon on Friday, and I told David to come. Don't know if he will, but we got to get David. We got to get him into. Into YouTube. I almost said Utah for some reason. We got to get him into Utah and then put him on YouTube. So
yeah. It happens. We'll make it happen.
Oh, here's a question for you, Shanth. Stretch goal tattoo, I think.
What does that mean? Do I get a tattoo? I need more information. No.
She wants you to get a tattoo that says stretch goal on it across your stomach.
Listen, people, if oh my God. Yeah, I mean it's I got more information. I need more information there. But yeah, I mean if if I need to get a tattoo, but the stretch goal will be a little bit higher. That's all I can say.
Right.
Nice.
Well, me and Dave already agreed. If we make 2 million, so $1 million apiece, my wife is quitting her job on the air.
There you go.
Tell her boss to shove it. So guys, you got to push me over the finish line. I was originally $1 million, but Dave said we need 2. Now there's 2 of us.
Someone said it's the CG for life tattoo. Here's the thing too. See, there you go. And I've got people, Ryan Cardinal's like, listen, I'm going to tattoo you up. It's happening. All right, fair enough. I will absolutely. I was looking at that and I go, I need that as a t-shirt. So I'm thinking about looking into seeing where I can get some t-shirts made. I know that Ethan uses crypto fashion. I don't know exactly how all that stuff works, but I would love to get a t-shirt of that. And then I think it was Aldous was telling me he wants me to do a t-shirt of the Liberty insignia that I have at the end of everything I do that says made with Liberty in the USA. So I may have to do that. Yeah, tramp stamp is happening.
That's where you got to get it.
That's exactly right. That's where I go.
Getting away from the silly for just a second, because I really like this question. Absolutely. I want you to take this one, Shanth. Gabe and Shanth, why do you guys think it is some people can draw so fucking fast, like Jose Garcia? I think he means Luis Lopez, right? But other guys are damn good, but slow as F. What do you think that is? I have no idea. I'll let you go first, and then I'll tell you what I think.
Oh gosh, that's a very it depends on the person, and it depends on how do I word this? I think when I'm drawing and when I'm making stuff, it always goes fast. It depends on the complexity of it. But I think that it's because that people have an idea of the finish, but they're not in the zone when they're making it. So the degree to which, as you're creating artwork, that there's also this option. You're really, really bad. You don't know how to draw, so you take forever because you're trying to learn how to draw each and everything. So you haven't learned how to draw competently. It's like trying to speak another language with a handful of vocab words and trying to piece it together on your phone. So that's one option. The other option is that people get too in their own head and dissect everything they do, and they can't just make it happen. But everybody I know who's in the zone, does it take Ethan a while to draw Cyberfrog? Yeah. Is he fast? He's really fast for the detail he does, period.
Sure.
And in the case of Jose, if we're talking about with Tiger Blue, the animation experience, and this Jose is just dialed in. He's just really fast. He's fast and good. It's incredible. But I mean, it's slowness is a very weird one because, yeah, when people are slow, it's always something like that.
I would say this. I don't have an answer for you, and I realize that's Joe Garcia. In my mind, I made that Jose Garcia because
I did too. Sorry, yeah.
Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, one of my favorites. So my mind tricked me when I read that. Sorry, but I have no idea why people draw fast and slow because I only know drawing out of my own head and hands and eyes, my own experience. I've never drawn as Shanth, so I don't know what he thinks and feels in the specific. I know generally what he's thinking when he's drawing because duh. But I think so much of your personality is in your drawings. You can tell if someone is mean or if someone is anxious or if someone is uptight, someone is confident. You can see it in the drawing because ultimately art is self-expression. So those things you feel on that base level in the amygdala, those emotions, they're going to come out in the drawing. You know what I mean? So why someone is slow? Maybe I mean, this is silly sounding. It sounds like phrenology, but maybe they're really calm and confident. You know, maybe they're a little lazy. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. What do you think there's anything to that personality in art? How much do you think that weighs in?
Maybe, I don't know, man. You know, it's like, okay, so this is an acrylic I started the other day on a stream of Gilgamesh that I was doing. We did a live painting stream. You can watch me do this on Michael Bancroft's channel with Rob, and I think Camel Moon was on there as well. And I had no idea where the heck this painting was going. I just started, and then the next day I just banged out all this stuff. I would say I could get this painting, done, and it was just for fun, obviously, but I could get this painting done, in another, day, another 8 hours or so on it, and I could get that thing detailed to pieces. And speed came to me as a way of working and entered my lexicon when I stopped basically trying to critique my work as I drew. It's like I'm doing the audio commentary as I'm making my movie. It's an insanely awful place to exist. But when you're all in the moment, why do some fighters not be, when they get gun shy, they can't throw a punch, they can't, they shell up. It's because they're thinking about what's going to happen if they throw. They're not in the zone. And if you can't get into the zone, or if I always say it takes so much more time to fake what you're doing than it does to actually learn it. So I also think that's a factor of speed. Like when you hear Gabe and I, we've been at this now. We've been talking for 2 hours.
Right.
We're not faking this. There's no script.
Right.
It's the same thing when I sit down to draw. If I guarantee you I could find out who the slowest people are at doing work if I said, okay, we're going to sit down now and we're going to work for 10 hours. Most people are going to tap out after 2.
Right.
I will forget to eat, although it will never show.
Yeah. Well, who knows? We didn't give you an answer there on why.
Yeah, no, we did a bad job on
that. I think it's just myriad factors. It's temperament and upbringing and training and personality and what's going on in their life. But here's a nice compliment from.
Absolutely, thank you, brother.
Commented from one of the masters.
I know it's. I appreciate that. It's like having artist brothers in CG has been one of the best things, and that's writers, it's pencilers, it's inkers, that I was reading their, essentially the books on how to ink, with their work in it that you're working with right now.
Right.
And, it's when I get compliments from, my fellow artists and, it means a lot. Like I'd be lying if I said it didn't. And it's when I tell people I see their work and it blows me away and I'm impressed by it. It's sincerity and it's gratitude because to me, artwork is my oxygen. It always has been, and movies, whatever it is, movies, video games, action figures. I know me and Patrick Thomas Parnell both have that. It's the stuff that gets me excited about bringing a little bit of beauty, a little bit of joy, or as much as you can into people's lives. That's what it really comes down to. And so we're all kind of, in this sort of aesthetic world together, and we're fighting for that beauty and that humanity to come through these inanimate, materials that we use. And it's great. You guys bring this stuff alive. When you read my comic, you're bringing it to life. And that's the coolest thing about it. I love this stuff. Thank you. I appreciate that compliment, David. Thank you.
Yeah. I wonder, making these worlds and all that. I've thought about this a lot. My favorite television show is Little House on the Prairie. I don't think there's a more beautiful television show in the world.
Yeah.
The theme there of family and holding fast when everything goes wrong and somebody dies or the village is on fire or whatever. All these perilous things happen, and it's a bit melodramatic. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But the theme is always sticking up for people, fighting for people, sacrificing for people, dying for people, and just loving people. And I wonder how much of what we do, creating these worlds, creating the fun, creating the adventure, creating the fun and the excitement, is because of trauma and things from your childhood. Because to go back to Little House on the Prairie, if you learn about Michael Landon, the star of the show, his childhood, real bad, abusive mother and all this stuff. And it was said by I think his wife or some people said, well, he wanted to make these good shows about a good family and happiness because he just had the worst childhood ever. Yeah. He wet the bed. He made this in a TV movie. He wet the bed until he was almost in high school or something like that. And his mom would hang the pee-stained sheets outside of his house to shame him in front of the neighborhood.
Jeez.
That's the kind of stuff that I wonder in your work, Shanth, in my work. Are we making heroes because we didn't have a hero when we were little kids? We didn't feel safe. We wish people wouldn't let us down and that people would be brave for us and all that. Because I think that is in my work. I definitely think it is that my parents were divorced. I felt very neglected. I'm not feeling sorry for myself, but I think that sort of heroic stuff, I think that's a part of it in my
writing. I think
I
would say this. I'd say fictional heroes. Fictional heroes saved my life. I mean, one of my favorite movies of all time is Ben-Hur. And what I love about Ben-Hur is it shows a character who's had his life taken from him and then goes on this quest of revenge, then finally achieves his revenge. And then the question is, well, now what do you do? He's still angry. He's still miserable. And then he finds, a way out of that prison. And so for me, I've always seen the fictional characters, whether it's Bill Bixby in The Courtship of Eddie's Father, it's, all of these different characters that I saw, or heroes like Luke Skywalker, for heaven's sake, or Spider-Man, in the Todd McFarlane run with David Michelini, I don't know how to pronounce it, but those were the characters that were saying, hey, there's something better than this stuff you're seeing around you, and you can actually find it. The people who wrote this based it off of something, or may even be these people. So go find these people. And it gave me context. I always think that your art, in many ways in your life, is if you are out, at sea or you're offshore and it's dark, it's the lighthouse for you that guides you into shore. Right. And so the thought of making work that, look, guys, I watch the same, news, although I try to avoid it, and read the same things on Twitter that all of you guys do. My goal is to give you a little ray of light with this book that takes you away from that. I'm not here to remind you of how nihilistic and negative things are. I'm here to show you that beauty can happen in spite of all of that darkness. And that's what Comicsgate is for me. And that's what comics have always been for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is just fantasy, and any of it, any stories. The original stories I would make with my brother, we'd be playing Star Wars action figures.
Hell yeah,
and those were the first comic books I wrote. I realized when we got older that I would just narrate the whole story, improv it off the top of my head. And I realized, me and my brother would make these stories. And when I got older, I realized, no, it was me. And he would just play with me, but I would and then they're going to do this. Then they have to find the special crystal and just making up all this stuff. And I think making up these worlds and these stories, I do think it is a way, like you said, like a lighthouse. It does help you cut through some of the dark and cut through some of the negative feelings. You can kind of show this idealistic world, these idealistic archetypes of people. And I think it becomes really aspirational. It gives you something to hope for, something to dare for, something to maybe live up to. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? And that's why I think these damn identity politics in the mainstream are so bad. Because I remember loving Han Solo when I was a kid, that he was a brave, dashing hero. What is Ford? That's like a British name, right? Harrison Ford. I am not a British man, in case you're wondering. Yet I was still able to relate to him somehow. Somehow I was able to relate to a man of, you know, white English heritage. And it wasn't about identity politics. It was about humanity, you know, the things we do agree on, the things that connect us as people. So it's really refreshing, and it's just such a great gift that you guys give us, and a pleasure to be able to make these stories for you.
Absolutely right.
So,
and you know, it's I think about too, you know, when I was thinking about all this stuff, and I want to make sure I say this because this is so important. There's this myth of creativity, or when things happen, or what your moment is, or how things work together. One of the people who's a huge influence for me is C.S. Lewis. And when I think about C.S. Lewis doing all the work that he did in his life, and then finally, I think he might have been in his late 30s, but maybe he was early 40s, coming up with the Chronicles of Narnia. And, you know, you think about that for a second, that there are these moments, these opportunities that happen. And I remember looking to my wife about Comicsgate, and I said, you know, babe, I'm in this place right now artistically, like everything is coming together. How many more of these are you going to get in your life to do? Like to meet fans, to put your work out there for people to see it, and to have this amazing, you know, group of people who remember how great comics can be, but believe in fantasy, believe in fiction. I mean, there's no better place in the world to be, guys. And we can talk about, you know, things like Lovecraft. We can talk about all that stuff. And you guys are getting in on the ground of the most limited edition comics, no matter how big they get. They're instantly, to me, I mean, people always say I was there for the speculator boom. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you went in to buy a copy of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1, and you didn't know it was going to be big, but you were like, I haven't seen anything like this. How special it was. And the how big it became, you know, oh, I have a copy of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1. It wasn't about it being a collector's item. It was about the value of that moment, and the value of this moment with all of us here in Comicsgate. When you get Nosfero is a book that is going to remind you of this specific time in Comicsgate, just like so many books like Jawbreakers define their time in Comicsgate, the books that were coming out around them. And I always get excited about the books that are coming out around and being developed, like Gabe's book and Dan Plagle's book and Tiger Blue, for that matter, Maddie's book. I get excited because all these books are this moment, you know what I mean, that we're in right now. The 2021-2022 moment in Comicsgate is unique to other times in it. And it's crazy. Comicsgate Kings and all the stuff that's kind of come out in the last, that stuff is all very, very new.
Yeah, it seems to have matured. It seems to have found, at least for a season, who knows how long it'll last in this mode before it evolves again. But we definitely went through an epoch, you know, where there's definitely a doorway we went through with, and God, this sounds self-serving, but I really think my like whole controversy with Superman was kind of, that happened, and I think Godlike hit it huge, and Wraith of God hit it huge.
Yeah, Godlike.
You know what I mean? And I think Graham Nolan's Alien Alamo hit it huge, and a lot of great stuff was happening this fall. And then I gave DC Comics The Bird, as you remember. Were you watching the night that I
you gave them the bird? You gave them a plane?
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah,
I've watched all that stuff, man. I was there. I was the person who was like, people were like, who is this Gabe guy suddenly on Comicsgate? And I'm like, who is this Van Damme fan suddenly on my YouTube? And I look at this stuff though, and I'm like, guys, it's like this. It's the books I have a stack of Comicsgate books right here, and they're of a quality. I have to say this. It's like the fact that there's no ads in these books, unless they're fake ads that are designed to be cool, right? But I look at all of these books and I go, there's pinups by people. This is supplemental book #2. And you look at this stuff and you look at all the different artists and talent. Rob Arnold is in this book. And it's incredible stuff that you see going on. You've got Narwhal, you've got all these different talents working on it. And I just love seeing this stuff, guys, the quality of stuff that you're getting. And for me, when someone's like, how do I get involved in, learn about these comics? This is where First Man starts when you want to read a superhero book. And this is where Starblades by the amazing Kyle Ritter, this is where Starblades starts. And the stuff is going to evolve because we've got a lot of different people working on it. And of course, one of my personal favorites, The Lucent by Michael Bancroft. And Painted Death is going to be launching soon. But if I go through my stack of books, I've got Downcast here, right here by Clint Stoker. I've got, more Graveyard Shift. I've got, it's like, which books do I have here? And of course, I don't know where the heck I put it, but I have my copy of Cyberfrog #1. And that's the thing. When I look at this stuff, the story of Cyberfrog begins with that first issue, the story of Nosfero. And I really think this is the coolest thing about it. When I look at what Nosfero is doing right now, I'm very pleased with how it is right now, by the way, very pleased with where we are. Right. But I know for a fact that you guys in Comicsgate, when that first book gets delivered and the second book launches, people are like, all right, cool. I know this guy's going to deliver, which is why I did those first 2 books. Right. And so these things tend to grow and you guys make it happen. Sorry. Yeah. You read these chat because there's some great ones. There's another great one right there too as well.
Can y'all explain Narwhal's unique talent to the art illiterate? You want to take it? I mean,
I will. Yeah.
I think he's just really good at abstraction. And to the layman, abstract art is splattering paint and being avant-garde and weird. That's not what the word actually means. Think of abstract like distilling alcohol. You boil off the water, so you get more alcohol, you make it more pure. Abstraction in art just means simplify. Bugs Bunny is an abstract drawing of a rabbit. You get it? It's a very simple drawing. So I think Narwhal has a very good sense for abstraction in color and abstraction in graphic design. And so that's how I see it. That's what I see is there. And it is sort of I think for me, Jack Kirby, Frank Quitely situation where you love them or you hate them. Because I've heard people like, oh, Kirby's people are all ugly. Frank Quitely draws all those like butt chins but he draws them masterfully, So what do we got here?
Oh, this is Narwhal stuff in the Graveyard Shift supplemental. And I would say, let me see if I can get this in focus here. I would say that it's the Tim Sale kind of Alex Toth quality. Right. There we go, to his stuff. But I think it's the sweet science of composition. It's the fact that the stories flow when he's paired with a compatible writer or when he's writing it himself, it flows. But here's the cool thing about it, guys. You don't have to buy, or how do I word it? You don't have to like something because other people in Comicsgate like it. The main thing we're doing here is, and why Narwhal has built a big audience for his stuff, is because, I love Narwhal. I did the trailer for Earthbound 2 when he did that god-awful trailer that he first released, which he does great stuff, by the way. He can do a great trailer, but he was swamped. I went in and I re-edited it, boosted the audio levels on it, so I loved helping him. But when I look at Narwhal's stuff, the best way I can describe it is it reads. And Frank Frazetta's work has one feel. John, Malin's work has one feel. Gabe's work has one feel to it. Like we all have different things. There's some overlap, but it's Narwhal he's proved it with the audience. I wouldn't say it's an art thing. I think it's a customer thing. Yeah. People feel satisfied when they buy his books, and word of mouth grew Earthbound 2.
Yeah.
And he's fast.
Yeah, he's fast. And I think his abstraction is right. He knows. I always talk about Bugs Bunny as my example of abstraction. Bugs Bunny, I'll just make him a number. He's made of like 23 lines, and that's it. There's nowhere to hide when you draw him. You draw it right, or it doesn't look right, and everybody knows. So abstraction is the most difficult thing to do in art. Abstraction is how you do composition. It's how you do everything. You have to Samuel Goldwyn, he was one of the founders of MGM, Metro Goldwyn Mayer, MGM Pictures. In his book on writing, he says, take out the part the readers skip.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And in drawing, I was telling David Williams, I told him that yesterday on the phone. And the same thing goes for drawing. That whole 90s style where there's too much scratchy, that was because the artist didn't know what to draw and what not to draw, more important. So, and I think Narwhal's a master of that. And I think that David is in the chat. Let's embarrass him by looking at his art and
font. Yeah, let's do it.
Yes. So David is another master of what to draw and what not to draw. See how simple but it's deceptively simple. You see that energy and that swing to what he's doing here. You see that locomotion. You could tell that David was an animator. You could tell the animators guys always have that swing is what I always call it in my head.
Yeah.
You know, but again, this is about abstraction. This is going where Narwhal goes. It's a different style, obviously, but you can see the motion because he gets the big shape right. Does that make sense? And
absolutely.
That's what Narwhal does. You know what I mean? So,
and I dropped the recut trailer into our it
private.
Should be down there. You'll be able to share it, share a video file. It's a short video, but it shows you what we do, and it shows you what the fans say. I don't know if the audio will work, but it says the audio should work.
We'll see if it works. I'll make it full screen.
Special? Is he a genius? Is he a savant? Is he like, what's up? Like, this book, nobody else makes stuff like this. I've never read a comic like this ever.
I read it and I got done and I was like, oh man, that went by quick.
It's really immersive. It really pulls you into the world.
Totally forgot how many pages it is. I think it's like 136. I read this in one sitting.
This book should be so critically acclaimed. It's really that good.
20 years ago, this would have come out from one of the big publishers and it would have been celebrated everywhere as this groundbreaking achievement in comic book storytelling.
To me, this is the biggest discovery of crowdfunding.
There you go.
You put together, my man.
Well, you know, you know how this is. It's like when I was doing the card trailer for Phil Diaz, who was in the chat earlier.
Mm-hmm.
There's for me, I don't want to say there's too much at stake or blah blah blah, but I want Comicsgate to be successful. I want Nosfero to be successful. And when I see people who are doing things to grow the prestige of Comicsgate with their just raw talent, creativity, and imagination, I'm going to get in there, roll up my sleeves. And I got that to Ethan within 24 hours of seeing that thing roll, you know, the first trailer. And it was great to see his reaction, which I think was on the Jack show. They played the trailer for him for the first time. And this is Ethan in a nutshell. He played it and Narwhal goes, did you do that, Ethan? And Ethan goes, no, that was done by Shanth and Jetty. He always gives credit, man. Always gives credit for the stuff I do. And that's what we do here. It's merit and it's credit. It's kind of important.
Well, that's why it was so brilliant. It was funny, but it was also brilliant when Malin came up with the whole grab an oar, start rolling.
Grab an oar is fantastic. Yep.
And as we've gone over a few times, it's like before I knew you, I just invited you on my show to promote your book. Remember, like
you did.
And then that's how we hit it off as friends and like, hey, let's do a show and talk about the movies we love. And I've told you, and I'll tell the chat just for people who haven't heard, the reason I invited Shanth on and wanted to promote him is his work looks really good and he works hard. But I noticed he was just helping and doing things and he wasn't asking for anything. So it didn't have that slimy like, oh, I'll do this and then they'll do that. He was just like, no, I believe in this movement, so I'm helping.
And I've surrendered to it. I need to do that to live. You know what I mean? I remember when I'd get my daughter ready for school when she was going off to daycare. And it was a big thing. You know how it can be sometimes for a dad, but she'd get her shoes would be scuffed every morning. They were cheap shoes, but I always wanted to polish them and make them put the shoe polish on them so they look nice to send her off. And, you know, you do that 300 days in a row. It's because you love it and you care. You do it once, it's different. And I've been that way my whole life, man. And that's me at my core. That's why I was a teacher. That part of helping people and believing in free expression and a free expression with responsibility to do something with that freedom, to do something as great as you can. If it's a horror movie, make it something that, you know, is about the human condition. It elevates. If it's about superheroes, if it's about heroism, if it's about satire, I make no judgment. The rule is quality and quality will out, as they say. That's what it's about.
Yeah, it's undeniable. You know, that's a concept that always matters to me. Is I really like Jay Moore, the comedian. I think I also told this to Dave, and he did sports radio from like 2010 to 2013. He did it for a few years out of LA, and you know he does comedy clubs because he does stand up. And he announced on the radio that he was going to be doing his radio show from San Diego because he was going to be at the comedy club at night. So, why not drive down here early and be here for a couple of days? So I contacted the showrunner and said, can I come in? Because my daughter, she's been doing stand-up comedy since she was 16. She's 24 now. And she's killing, by the way. She killed at the American Comedy Club last night. And so we went down to the radio station and sat with Jay Moore for 3 hours while he was live on the air doing radio. And my daughter talked to him about comedy and this and that. And one of the principles he talks about, and I think he told her, but I know he's talked about this, is you have to be undeniable. And you have this agent that had this nasally voice. He would talk like that. Said, you got to be undeniable, man. Is how Jay Moore would always say it and make me laugh. Mm-hmm. And he said, it's like baseball. If you hit it in the field, they can catch it. They can throw you out. You could hit a foul ball. But if you hit it over the fence into the parking lot, no one can say shit. You're undeniable. So when you're cleaning the scuffs off your daughter's shoes every day and you're making Nosfero to the best of your ability, you're making videos for Ethan, not charging him, like not asking for favors.
Yep.
You're being undeniable. You know what I mean? You're doing the work and no one can say anything about it. So that's very admirable to watch.
He does the best Christopher Walken imitation of all time.
Right.
He understands Jay Moore is amazing. And I used to tell my students back when I was teaching that the number one objective you should have is to display and demonstrate to people unassailable skills. They don't have to like it, but if, people don't have to say like, it's how do I word it? People will like it and people will buy it. Enough people, if you make something of quality. And my first 2 art books, again, guys, it wasn't because I was already doing stuff for Ethan at that point. It wasn't for a fear of, I'm CG. I mean, I did a Red Rooster fan art piece back in the day. You can go into my Instagram and see it. I can't go back and fake that stuff. I was not afraid. I had a huge following on Instagram, but I did this book, these 2 books, because I believed in independence and I wanted to show that my skills, not the college's branding, not all the crap people try to use to take credit for your success. Oh, you're successful because of, you teach at RISD, or, you're successful because of the whole department is, or it's factors beyond you. I go, no. It's me drawing. It's my skill. It's my hand, my sweat, my labor right into these pages. And people who did not know me at all came out and thousands of dollars were raised for this book. And I went, okay. And when I had a story, I go, this is ready for CG and it's going to work. Yeah. Period.
Yeah.
And it has.
Yeah. You're undeniable, man.
Absolutely.
So yeah, you see something like this. Hold on.
Yeah, we got to get truth, justice. I know exactly.
And there's nothing you can say. You look at Dave's drawings, you look at my colors. You can't. It's good. Everybody knows it's awesome. And that's not bragging. That's what you're looking at there. That's over 50 years experience between me and Dave.
That's right.
And you add in Gary Martin, we're up to almost 90 years, I think, of comic book experience. It's undeniable.
Yeah.
So, the fans make it all possible. It's really, really amazing.
Yeah, to me, it's a no-brainer to back projects like that, guys. You're getting people who are creative, who have ideas. We're not just throwing stones and saying, why can't this character be like this more? I'm going, why can't there be a painted comic book that does this, this, and that? When that book gets supported, it's people saying who've wondered that, now having the opportunity to get the book. Truth, Justice, and the American Way. Truth, Justice, American Way is an example of that. That's why it's going to be great.
Well, we've been going for a while here, but I wanted to show one more time.
Yeah, let's have
if I can find it. I wanted to show that review that guy put together of your book, which was hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
And then I was going to show the trailer for mine. Hopefully people will, the links are in the description, guys, to go sign up for Truth, Justice, American Way. Sign up for that. You get an exclusive trading card. You can't get it anywhere else. Previews on art, all kinds of little goodies are happening in the emails there. So sign up to the email list, costs you nothing. And let me find this video of someone promoting Nosfero.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me make sure. Okay, I got it right here. Turn the volume. Hopefully the sound comes through. I don't know. Sometimes it's a little funny with the sound, but make this bigger and we will play this one more time. Sorry. I got all kinds of things on the desktop here.
I know, I'm the same way, man.
Yeah.
Boy cunts, how's it hanging? It's your old mate Hogan. Do you remember the days when Black Sabbath helped you get knuckle deep from the backseat of your busted ass shagging wagon parked by the dunes? No? Well, then ask your fucking dad to come look at Nosfero, because they're going to cream their dacks when they see the raw vintage metal of this indie spinner. Nosfero is a watercolored, acid-laced trip into a unique realm of vampiric rituals, demonic hell beasts, vixens, and other legendary myths like beautiful virgins. It's what this movie is gothic kitsch. That looks like a Dario Argento nightmare directed by Fritz Lang. This artwork now is that hammer shit so bad Peter Cushing would be gushing. You know what I mean? It's like Alfie Marker or Simon Bisley had a baby raised by Joe Pantano. If you tried to count the disparate influences on Nosfero, you'd run out of fingers before you're halfway done. Just like your mum opening up in the backseat of your dad's shaggin' wagon. And you know what? It's a stark contrast to the influences reflected in all mainstream comics right now, namely Marxism and mental illness. Now, you'd never think these separate elements would get along, like all your ex-misses on the rag at your kid's birthday party. But look how sweet they come together. Like all your ex-misses after a spliff, a bag of goon, and a little mood lighting. That's right, koala chicks are dirty feral cunts. Nosfero comes to us from smart artist Shanth Angetti, and he might look like a 6th grade English teacher who Ubers on the from the artwork he puts out to the comics, the dude's name itself. There isn't a fucking thing about this cunt that isn't goddamn metal. And not hairband pretty boy mascara metal, but bite the head off her back and snort your father's ashes out of a naked groupie's axe wound metal. Say what you want about whatever glowy-eyed, chained-up denizen of hell is your favorite. If they don't have a mystical fucking shard of legendary sword jammed through their fucking nose, they can mince the fuck off back to Hot Topic TikTok and weep into their Death Note diaries. Now, I might have got a bit off track and forgot my fucking point, but you can't fault my goddamn conviction. And you don't get more passionate than Angetti, whose YouTube channel not only shows him painting his shit, but he also yaks about mythology, writing, and the Western canon. It's compelling stuff, but I must admit I don't know what the fuck he's talking about half the time. To me, the Western canon was 1977 Holden Tirana A9X. Having Nosfero in your collection is going to be like having Back in Black on vinyl. Every fucking bogan worth his salt is going to have it. So do yourself a favor and back Nosfero on IGG today. For those of you about to back, I salute you. This has been Hogan.
Hail Australia, and God bless you, Australia. We love you.
That was fantastic. So that was just a fan that did that, huh?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this guy's the best fans in Comicsgate. I'm seeing the fan art crop up. All this stuff is inspiring. Let's talk Truth Justice.
All right, let's get that up there, and then I think we'll get out of here after that. We'll check the chat after this, and then get out.
Absolutely.
Of here. All right. All right. Well, we didn't talk a lot of RoboCop.
we got. But as we're wont to do, and to Julie Pascal, I just want to say vielen Dank for that. Thank you for the for the trailer being in there.
Right.
And let's see what we've got here. Yeah, guys, check that out. And it's been a blast, guys. Thank you, Gabe, for having me on, and for having these great conversations, man. It's what I love about Comicsgate.
Absolutely. So what's next week? Do you got one in mind? I've got a few, but I've picked like the last two, I think. Because I picked Goonies and then I picked RoboCop. You got what's next week? What do you want to talk about?
Oh, I got one. Beverly Hills Cop.
Hold on. I've never seen it.
All right, let's get that done. I saw Death Wish. Beverly Hills Cop.
Okay, I will have to check it out. I do know this though. That originally that was Sylvester Stallone. Wrote it. Right.
Watch it with that knowledge, and you'll go, "There's no way that would have worked
for
this movie that you get." Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Beverly Hills Cop.
All right. Well, we'll end there. Beverly Hills Cop. I will check that out. We will talk about it next Wednesday. Beverly Hills Cop. Thank you all so much. Hit the like, subscribe, check Shanth out. Check out the links to our books in the chat or the description or whatever. And we'll see you next Wednesday. All right. Bye.
Absolutely, guys. Peace.